Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Please take notice that action will be taken on the following items at the regular council meeting on Tuesday, July 11th, 2023, in the council chambers of Sparta Township Municipal Building, 65 Main Street, Sparta, New Jersey. The meeting is opened at 7 o'clock p.m. Excellent. All council meetings are now live streamed and can be viewed at the following link: https://www.youtube.com/@SpartaTWP/streams. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided to the public and to the press on June 14th, 2023 by delivering to the press and posting on the township website a copy of this notice. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Blumetti.
Here.
Councilman Hertzberg.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Clark.
Here.
Councilwoman Quinn.
Here.
Mayor Chiarello.
I am here. Will everybody join me as we salute our flag? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I sense that we have Olympians in our midst. I was fortunate enough this couple weeks ago to carry the torch, and I got to say that was just so cool. And I'm so sorry that you guys didn't have the chance to do that, because that would just rock, like walking through and people are cheering. And it was a lot of fun. So next year, I hope if it happens again, I hope to join you guys. We are proclaiming July as Disability Pride Month. And whereas the disability experience is a natural part of life that intersects with every aspect of identity, including race, ethnicity, and social, educational, and economic background. And whereas disability is a diverse identity in and of itself, encompassing those with physical, intellectual, developmental, emotional, invisible, acquired, chronic, device-assisted disabilities, and more. And whereas individuals with disabilities are valued members of the community across our state, and more than 300,000 working-age New Jerseyans identify as having a disability. And whereas disability should in no way diminish one's right to independence, self-determination, or engagement with society, but rather should be celebrated as an aspect of one's personhood. Whereas while the disability community has been fighting for equality and inclusion for generations, segregation on the basis of ability persists, depriving individuals with disabilities from full participation in our society, and coming at a great cost both to those with disabilities who desire to live independent, productive, and fulfilling lives, and to their communities, which miss out on the rich talents and experiences that those with disabilities have to offer. And whereas we must recognize the value and intersectionality of the disability experience in our lives, acknowledge and address the barriers presented to individuals with disabilities in our society, and appreciate that diversity makes our state stronger. And whereas this month, the state of New Jersey celebrates the countless talents, experiences, and contributions of individuals with disabilities, and reaffirms its commitment to take meaningful action to build a state that is inclusive to all. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Township Council of the Township of Sparta does hereby proclaim that the month of July is Disability Pride Month, and encourages all community residents to reflect on ways we can all live and work together with a commitment to mutual respect and understanding. And will people, thank you. All our Olympians up here.
Get a picture.
Please do. I'd love that.
It's my honor to individuals that you see in front of us here. Two coaches that help us out. We have Melissa Triple and Diana Rodriguez. Some of our athletes that were able to make it tonight. We have Erica, we have Bobby, Miss Allie, Jade, raise your hand. We have Charlotte, Jamie, Anna Marie, and Sarah, and the young man with the red, he's one of our unified partners that helps us at the high school and the middle school. That's Christian, that's Jamie's brother. So he is definitely an advocate for those with disabilities. every day. He's out there helping, fighting for inclusion, and we really appreciate it. And next year, you will see us at the summer games. By the way, does everybody like our fancy shirts? Town council bought these for us.
All right.
So we are the high school, middle school participants, and Erica is one of our adult Special Olympians. She is 23 now. And you're calling out to the community to reach out to me, Miss Blandina, or even Miss Crumpert to tell us if you're interested in volunteering to help us continue to build our program. We can't do it by ourselves. It takes a village. We want to provide for young adults and older adults that are in our community. We have many special needs within our community that would benefit from a Special Olympics program. Right now, we are mainly just the high school and the middle school, but we need hands on deck to make this possible for young people like Erica to continue once they graduate and age out of the high school. So if you're interested, or you know somebody that might be interested in becoming a coach, because Erica wants Special Olympics to go, right? You want, and that smile, right? We like to bowl. We like to do track and field. And we're looking for people that specialize in the winter sports, because we found out that we like cross-country skiing right now. Yeah, and snowboarding and alpine skiing. So we're looking for those that.
Oh, we did already last in March.
Yes, we did. We tried it out up at you know, you did a great job. We're gonna do it again next winter.
Yeah.
But we need people to help us, right? Because Coach Shock doesn't ski. Can't ski anymore.
She snowboards.
No, he doesn't let me do that anymore. But it's for students and Olympians. So if you know people, point them in Council Lady Quinn's direction. She'll get them in a contact with me. She's a huge advocate for us, as well as everybody else on this board. So thank you very much for this proclamation.
You guys get in.
Why don't you guys stand up in the back, so then we can get you guys in too.
Yeah, and I'll come to the side.
No yawning, Ally. Ally, just move just a tiny bit this way, so, because you're blocking, there you go. Perfect. Erica, put your hand down.
That's perfect. Here she stopped.
I call the rest of the family members up. I'd like to you in the picture also.
Oh, no, thank you. Stop.
Take the picture.
It's all right.
Yeah, you got to be in the picture.
I hate photos.
Just get in the back and we'll see you.
I know, I'm sure. Come on. Come on.
Cheeseburger.
Cheeseburger. Thank you. Good job, everybody. Good job. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Email?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you again, sir.
Thanks again.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for all your work.
Thank you
Oh,
very
our
much.
pleasure.
You're-
We'd love to see you guys as volunteers come out and help our team.
Oh, thank
Track
you.
coach?
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you very much. We do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Sure. Shirella. I've been called worse.
Thank you, team.
Oh, yeah. Ice cream, there you go. Nice. You're buying triple double spoons.
Nice. Nice to meet you too.
Chocolate sprinkles.
What I used to do? When I was in the board patrol.
Actually, Dean and
Yeah.
so you guys are related?
Waiter. We'd help the waiters, waitresses out, and any tips we got. That's special.
We should do that again.
How cool would that be?
That'd be awesome. As long as I can serve
Yeah, I
it,
was
fine. I
thinking
don't
too.
wanna- You don't want me cooking it, but I'll serve it, no problem.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. I wonder if we could partner with like.
You know what we
industry
call
or
this?
some
Like
local
tips
restaurants.
for.
I can't remember. Exactly. That's funny. That's
Yeah.
it. Probably, yeah.
I was never thinking through it.
That's funny, yeah. So Roy's actually at Kittatinny.
So
He's
they
a
don't-
teacher at Kittatinny High School, yeah.
All they did was help each other.
Colleen.
Waiter brought
There you
you.
go. I just saw him yesterday.
I told them when we were there.
Exactly. Good. There you go.
They would do something.
That would be amazing. So I have the honor of reading the proclamation for Parks and Rec Month. I also have the honor of serving as one of the liaisons to the Parks and Rec, and I have for several years now, working with Jean and the Rec Department and the Rec Advisory Committee. And I know you've all heard me come here and really sing their praises, and it's so well-deserved. We are so lucky to have such a dedicated group, and we thank you very much. Whereas Parks and Recreation are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including Sparta Township, and whereas Parks and Rec promote health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks, Parks and Recreation promote time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being and alleviating illness such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's. And whereas Parks and Recreation encourage physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles, and Parks and Recreation are a leading provider of healthy meals, nutritional services, and education programming and activities such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, and environmental education, which are critical to childhood development. And whereas Parks and the Recreation increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas Parks and Recreation are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, and it is an essential adoptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature throughout their lives. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Sparta that July is recognized as Parks and Recreation Month and recognize the unwavering dedication of each of our employees who continue to enhance the quality of life within our community. Jean, can you come on up and accept the award? But you weren't here, so now. So, Jean Montfort, and last month she was sworn in and is now the president of the NJR committee. And it was a huge accomplishment, could not be prouder. I had the honor to go and swear you in, and I have to say the organization is phenomenal. Your dedication and said this over and over again, but in good times and bad, like marriage, like during COVID, when things went well, when things are bad, the rec department is always there. And it's always there across every demographic. And really, that's one of the things that Sparta's known for. So thank you so much for all of your efforts. Please bring it back to the rest of the team. And thank you for being here and accept it.
Do double duty. Do double duty.
The other thing I want to say is Sparta Township, the council has always been very supportive of recreation, which is really a good thing. Last year, we were one of the, there was only maybe 10 or 15 communities that did the proclamation before July Parks and Rec Month.
Oh, really?
But now the state, through NJRPA, we worked and worked, and the state declared this month as Parks and Rec through some of our work through NJRPA, and many more communities are recognizing the value. So I want to thank you guys for being so supportive and always being there for us and helping us try to make the lifestyle of the Sparta residents better.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do.
Yeah, we have excellent facilities and excellent programs, and that owes a lot to you. Okay, may I have a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting on April 11th, 2023 as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion or comment? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
And one abstention.
And one abstention, right? Any opposed? Okay. So the minutes have been approved, and please note the abstention. Will the acting town manager please read for the record the manager's report?
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Updates for the IT department, upgrades in the media presentation system and in the council chamber started this past week. While a lot of the equipment was installed and configured, the system is not complete, as there are still significant pieces of hardware that need to be installed by Mr. Dempsey. Hopes to have it completed within the next 30 days. He hopes to have it completed within the next 30 days. The work on the upgrades will not affect the presentation with Highlands Council next Tuesday on July 18th. Public Works Department, the department staff has been coordinating with JCP&L to remove trees in the right-of-way on Hunter's Lane. A tree was also removed behind 686 Glen Road, which had fallen on township property. The building and ground staff have replaced the flooring, and other improvements were made in the employee break room at Town Hall. Parks and Rec Department, the first open mic program took place on June 29th. There were 6 acts with small crowds, but they planned on hosting the event in the near future. The first free outdoor movie event at Dykstra Park showing Disney's Pixar's movie Luca was held on Friday, July 7th, with over 200 attendees. The next movie night is scheduled for Friday, August 25th, with a showing of Puss in Boots,
It was
The
July
Last
25th,
Wish.
right?
And Sparta Library, the summer reading program started on Monday, June 6th, with a kickoff event on Tuesday, July 27th, which was well attended with hot dogs, popcorn, and fun things for the youth to participate in. Now I'll ask Chief McCarrick to read his report tonight. He's present at the meeting.
Thank you, Interim Manager Rome. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Update from the Police Department. 4th of July events, the Police Department participated in the annual 4th of July parade by providing officer presence, as well as detailed traffic posts throughout the parade route and surrounding areas for the safety of pedestrians and vehicular traffic. Additionally, the Police Department also participated in the annual 4th of July fireworks event put on by the Country Club. I believe some council members had asked me a few meetings ago if we ever work with our partners, and I took this opportunity to invite the Sussex County Sheriff's Department as a collaborative effort with the Office of Emergency Management, and work in coordination with them to provide public safety for this event. The Sheriff's Department provided us with equipment, technology, manpower, and we all did this drill together. And it was a great effort and a great drill for a real live event. And I want to thank the Sheriff Strada and his men and women who helped us out with their personnel and equipment for this event. Also from the Office of Emergency Management, as the coordinator for the township, I am in the process of updating our emergency operations plan. This is being completed with coordinating up-to-date information from all our partnering emergency services and department heads. So I'll have that completed hopefully by the end of next month, and which will then get submitted to the county and then get submitted to the state for approval. So we'll be in compliance. Couple reminders. I want to remind the public that oftentimes we get social media posts that are brought to our attention concerning public safety issues. And just to remind people that we're a 24/7 agency. We're always there. If you see something, you hear something, you call us, and we will investigate further if we need to do so. Just please provide us with the most factual information that you can upon that call so we can respond accordingly. And also, if you're not on our social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, please get on that because we put a lot of updated information on there throughout the week. Another update, our Junior Police Academy is going to be held August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Application can be found online through our social media. And also, if you want to stop at the police department and pick it up at our dispatch window. Last portion I would like to talk about is some training. Again, we're a 24/7 professional police agency. Yes, we do motor vehicle enforcement. We respond to medical calls. We do a lot of different things. We wear a lot of different hats. And I think it's important to know that behind all that professionalism comes from training. So throughout the years, our officers complete a variety of mandatory training from our Attorney General's office and a mix of advanced training. And to maintain this utmost professionalism with our department, it's imperative that our officers continue to train, and we will. Many of these trainings are hosted by our law enforcement partners and are free. Some of the most recent trainings that our officers have completed this year: firearms training, active shooter training, frontline supervision, internal affairs, OPRA classes, CQB training, which is close quarter battle, Alcatraz operator training and Alcatraz recertification training, patrol bicycle course training, Northern Red training, which is also a state collaborative effort with the state police and other law enforcement partners for active shooter training to be on the same page. HELO training, which is humane law enforcement animal training. We're now required as a department to have at least one member from our department trained in any kind of animal offenses and how to respond and charge accordingly. Transcar emergency preparedness training, New Jersey North Regional Mass Care Exercise training, resiliency training, which is first in the nation in the state of New Jersey. And again, the state is requiring that we have a minimum of one officer per our department trained. And we currently have 3 officers and 1 dispatcher trained in this training. So I'm very proud of that. Technology and criminal investigations, 6 hour armor training, juvenile youth mental health training, which is more important than ever. A new chief training seminar, which I went to with a lot of great information. Below 100 training, interview interrogation, CPR training, which we do yearly with our certified CPR instructors within our department. SFST refresher training, which is DWI. JCPNL hosted a training about live wires and the dangers of them, and they did a demonstration at the fairgrounds, which we participated in. Bias crime training, mass casualty training, understanding cannabis wellness programs, arson training, use of force and vehicle pursuit updates, and several different OEM trainings. And just some upcoming scheduled classes that we have in the next month or so: police budgeting, domestic violence updates, defensive tactics instructor courses, risk management for managers and supervisors. And again, I bring this to your attention tonight because I believe we are a very professional agency. I believe that our officers need to continue to be trained. And we appreciate not only support from our management, but also from our council and from our public to allow us to do this. So thank you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chief. Actually, I have a question, actually, in regard to, you talked about emergency preparation. And a couple of meetings ago, you gave us a presentation on emergency preparation specifically for train or rail accidents. Would it make, as you complete that report and memorialize it, would it make sense to have like a tabletop exercise in case further people on the administration or members of the council need to be involved in something big that might happen? I often wonder myself, if something big happens here, am I prepared to do whatever I need to do to step up? And as you said, training is important, and having walked through that might be a good idea, or maybe not. I don't know.
Training is important. And again, what our actions are going to take place in correspondence with our emergency operations planning. Part of that planning with you, members of the council, is going to be a lot of notifications on what our department and what the department heads are going to notify to you during any kind of casualty or any kind of act of nature or any kind of incident like that. I would like to invite you all to some training. I think our FATS machine that's used by our Sussex County Chiefs Association could be part of that. And again, with what you said with the emergency operations training, I think that we could sit down and discuss further on some of the actions that are going to be needed from our council and our management. Absolutely.
Okay. Next, we can be in touch. Anybody else wants to participate, let me know.
Great idea.
So the county also does does the tabletop exercises if you're a member of the MRC. So that's another opportunity for us on council to get more involved. I can send the information. Dave Smith and I are both members of that, and they do coordinate tabletop exercises with representatives from all around on different topics.
They just had one, I believe it was back in April, which a few members from our department attended at the Sussex County Fire Academy in coordination with OEM, but I believe CERT was there and a lot of different emergency responders. And it was more so along the lines of setting up shelters. So that is offered. Right now, we're in the process of doing some electronic training exercises through our resources. So it's constantly going through for that, and we want to make sure we're up to date on it. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing the update. I feel very comfortable, and I learned a lot from your update in general. I'm really proud of you and everyone for going through all that training, and I'm sure the residents feel the same, so thank you.
You're welcome. And, again, there's some training that I would like to invite the council to, in the near future, if you're up for it.
We're always up for it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the chief and the manager?
Unrelated to the training, and again, that was an impressive list, and no wonder, your department gets such high accolades with all the training that it does. This is a separate question, and just one that I had. Does the police department or some other department keep track of where accidents happen in the township? So if there's problematic intersections, problematic areas of the town, you would be able to flag that for us, or we could ask you, hey, is there an intersection that seems to be a higher incident of accidents than others? Is that something that y'all track?
It's something that's constantly tracked, and it's just a matter of a search through our CAD system, which we could say, we could go to all the accidents and see where the majority of them are.
Okay. And so you'd be able to see like a trend line, here's an area of town that over time has probably had more, is going up in accidents over time? Is that-
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a matter of a search, and if you want increase, decrease, doing the math, that's not a problem.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And I'm currently, my staff and I have started since January preparing quarterly reports. These reports give us everything about the police department, from motor vehicle crashes, response to medical calls, all the way down to overtime, to see the increases and decreases, and even things such as vehicle usage, fuel, work that needs to be done on vehicles. So we're compiling quarters. We just finished up the second quarter, obviously, and then we're going to give a year-end report, and I'll provide to Mr. Rome to review, and if he wants to share with council.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, may I have a motion to accept the managers and the chief's report as presented?
Make a motion, we accept the managers and the chief's report as read.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any other discussions or comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Right, the manager's report and chief's report are accepted. At this time, I'd like to open it up to the public for any items that are underscore not on the agenda. Please come up to the microphone if you can, if you want. State your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is, Pauline Coombs, 139 Wagon Wheel Road in Sparta. I live in Sparta Commons. We got sewers many, many years ago because that was our only option. And the sewers, I guess, they had a limited amount, so we got it for our complex. But they had said then that there would be more sewers, so the cost would be lowered. Guess what? The cost has never been lowered. We pay for the water coming in, we pay for the water going out. And it's very expensive. And it seems to be just pushed under the rug that we're probably the only one there that's paying the same amount of money. It's very expensive. And also, if I water my flowers, which I love, it goes through sewers, so I pay for it again. So I can't even, water the flowers, bypass, the sewer. I have to pay the whole thing. There's only the two of us, and we're retired. And there's a lot of, I guess, in our community that said the same thing. But we were giving this, hill of beans that we would get some more sewers and everything would be okay. But guess what? It's not okay. So I'd like if you could look into that and see how we could do it for our community.
Yeah, I've actually addressed this at public meetings several times. What happened was they were in the middle of the sewer rollout, and the Highlands Act came into effect and cut off our sewer usage. So we were not allowed by the state to roll out the rest of the sewer plan that was supposed to be rolled out. So we get this all the time. They built Round Top, and nobody there realized what their sewer bills were going to be, and we get calls from people up there all the time. And unfortunately, the state just will not allow us to move the sewers where they should be, like the rest of downtown. But there is one thing we can do to alleviate it, and we had a plan, and it never got executed, but I think now is the time to do that. And that is, what happened was, at the time, they should have said, rolling out the sewer, everybody who's in the sewer plan has to hook up.
Connect.
They did not. They said, do it whenever you feel like doing it. But if your septic goes bad, then you have to. Well, it's been years and not enough people have hooked up. So what we've talked about is a plan to have a 5-year plan, and we would make it cheap to hook up, but every year it would get more expensive until the 5th year where everybody has to do it. Because you're right, the more people that hook up, the cheaper it gets for everybody. And it's just not fair. It's not fair to the residents. I've seen the bills. I have friends who have sent me their bills. It's insane.
Terrible, especially, if you're like me, I like a lot of flowers, especially the 8 weeks we had no water, we had no rain, so I had to water. I was like, I don't want to get my bill. I might run away. It's very, very expensive. And it's a shame. It's because we want to keep it nice and beautiful, and we want to do the flowers, want to do everything, but then, when you can't do it. It's a shame we couldn't just even bypass that for the, like the grass or the flowers or something, rather than having to go through it, because it doesn't go through the sewers, it goes back in the ground.
Right.
So it makes no sense. There's no common sense here somewhere. So I have to have some common sense from somewhere.
Unfortunately, me and Chris were on council when the plan for North Village, I guess there was a plan for North Village, the economy, went down, but it was already passed. So 8 years later, they finally developed it, but in the books was already a sewer treatment plant.
Okay.
For what that cost, we could have brought the sewer down.
Right.
And all of North Village would have been on sewer, and think what that would have done to the cost, right? But we didn't have the opportunity. The good or bad thing is, those plants only last 10 years. So when that plan is over, we're gonna have a decision to make. Right now, the decision's with the people that own the land and the developer, but if there was a plan to have the sewer out there, then all of that area of town could be put on sewer, and that would lower the cost for
That would help
everybody.
tremendously, because it's a huge bill.
But those are big decisions that council has to weigh, and it's something that we've Actually, we've been asking for a report that I had asked for years ago to be done so we could look at what the feasibility for that is.
Yeah, I've been complaining, maybe not complaining, but voice of my appealed for a while, but I always got shut down. It was like,
It is an extremely valid
You know.
reason to complain, and it's something that I think we need to take action on.
yeah, it's very expensive for the people who live there, and a lot of them are not, super wealthy. They're single people, or they're, they're older, and it's hard for them, so. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming to speak
Thank
about
you.
it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public, or any items not on the agenda? And please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Vivian Pearlbutter, 5 Morgan Drive. I'm here to point out that there was a recent dedication of an Art Deco building in our historic district. And as a citizen of the town, I think Art Deco belongs in Florida, and we're not Florida. And I don't know who on our planning board, or it was probably our paid planner, who said, Art Deco, let them build it. It's a historic district. Master plan be damned. If you look at our master plan, it says historic district. Now, I would like very much for someone to do the research, find out who said, okay, Art Deco will do, and master plan doesn't count in this town. Then we know who to point a finger at. Right now, I have no idea where to point the finger. And I just feel that we have a planner we're paying, and every time we want to do anything, they say, master plan, master plan. Let's bow down to the master plan. We have to follow the master plan. And then when they don't want it to be followed, they throw it away. So I'd like somebody in this town to figure it out. Someone said yes, and it shouldn't keep going that way. Either you can't speak from two sides of your mouth. One way, master plan. Another way, Art Deco is historic, but it's not historic for Sparta. And we shouldn't have allowed it. And thank you.
Thank you, Vivian. Anyone else from the public for items not on the agenda? Please step up.
Thank you. My name is Ronald Coombs. I live at 139 Wagon Wheel Road in Sparta. You've just heard from my lovely wife. My subject is places where you can walk your dog without being warned off because it's not allowed. Whereas you can understand from my accent, I'm not from America. I'm from the United Kingdom. And you can walk your dog anywhere, off leash. The only stipulation, the dog must be under control. That is in 2 ways, on leash or verbal leash. In other words, trained to obey. Provided you can show that, you can walk your dog in any public park without being told, get out. I would been told, I have been in the park, I will confess, and I've been told I cannot be there. When I asked where, I'm told the Glen. I've been to the Glen. You walk the length of the Glen, you walk back, might take you 20, 25 minutes, but you then spend 15 minutes checking your dog over for ticks, because the Glen is rife with ticks. Is there any way at all it could be treated? At least even the road area, the centre of it. I'm not saying to treat the whole Glen. No. But most people walk the dogs up that road to the top and back down again. If that could be treated, perhaps on either side, it may alleviate the situation and less people would get into trouble walking in the park. Because when you go into the park, you may get the odd tick here and there, but they're few and far between. I would hazard a guess that the fields, sports fields, are treated because children are playing there, sports are taking place there. But I could be wrong. However, if the Glen could be treated in some way, it would be of assistance to people like myself. Thank you very much.
So let me just not really answer the question you're asking, but I don't think treating the Glen is the right answer, especially with the stream that's there. So I don't know that that's the answer. The true answer would be a dog park. And I'm not sure if you understand the history of the group that
I've
got
heard
put
some of it, yes.
the group that got put together. They were raising money, and then somebody stole the money and ran to Florida. So we actually, as a township, and me and Chris were involved in this. We had the land set aside. We had the place for it, and then it kind of fell apart. There was some people in town that have approached me recently, trying to put a group back together to try and create a nonprofit organization where the town could maybe donate the land, and then they would raise the money for the upkeep. And, the plan originally was the town would donate the land, would clear it, build it, and then turn it over to the nonprofit to manage and keep up. That was the concept. So maybe I could steer this group your way, and we could start getting that going.
Actually,
Interested?
if you want to reach out to me,
Pardon?
if you want to reach out to me, I'm sitting right now on the Rec Advisory Committee, and this actually was a topic that we're trying to address now. So if you want to reach out to me, like I said, my email is online. I'm happy to bring you up to speed as far as conversations that we had and next steps and whatnot. I mean, it takes a while. To Josh's point, we were ready to go, and unfortunately, it just didn't happen. But it's on our agenda, it's on our radar. It was identified as the second most popular thing that residents wanted. We were all set to go, and that was right before COVID happened. And so COVID happened, and then unfortunately, we were getting, to Josh's point, into a public-private partnership, and very sadly, that individual passed away suddenly. So, and then it was COVID. So we are relooking at it. You're exactly right. And I agree, I don't know that treating the Glen is the right answer, but I do think that the dog park, and we've had conversations, I've had multiple conversations with Gene Montemorano as well. So if you want to reach out to me offline, I'll be happy to bring you up to speed.
Thank you very much.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, and I would add, I think, we spend a lot of money on fields here, and I think it would be helpful, particularly where some of those fields are now. There's undeveloped land that's there. I don't know what is zoned, but, to me, it would be helpful, now that we have this expansion of White Lake, I think that if people could bring their dogs and have like a dog park while their kid is playing soccer, then they could go over to the dog park, the kid's playing soccer, and you can have this all in one spot. We have a lot of fields here. We have also a significant amount of land that remains undeveloped and that may be property zoned, or we may have public stuff that the town owns. But, I'm a dog owner as well. I know we take our dogs in the Glen, and we do the tick search, and I'm a big runner in the trails. And so I have to do my own tick search. Luckily, I don't have a lot of hair, so it's not that hard to pick out of the fur. But, I understand that. I know it would be a great quality of life improvement for Sparta residents to have a dog park. And I know that, Chris and Josh have done a lot of work on that and have a lot of background in it. And so, you're in good hands with them moving forward with that, along with me and working with Gene in the Parks and Recs Department.
I could add two quick things too. One is that we have a lot of land also by our DPW organization there, and it had come up a couple of times that might be an area that dog park might fit in fairly well. And secondly, in terms of spraying for ticks, as we all agreed here, that might not be such a good idea. And part of the reason is that soft-bodied insects like mosquitoes are fairly easy to spray for. Ticks are not soft-bodied, they're very, very hard-bodied, so chemicals don't penetrate a tick very easily, and so it's a lot harder to kill a tick than it is a mosquito, and so the chemicals are harsher, and that's the part of the problem there. Oh, excellent, thanks for those. Those were very good things to point out. Anybody else from the public have any comments or questions on things that are not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, I would like for the the deputy mayor to help us pay our bills.
Sure, I'd like to make a motion that we approve bill list totals by fund dated June 27th, 2023. And I think the date is wrong here. Right, it's not June 27th.
Yeah, this should be the July 11th. Well, are we looking at the right bill list actually here? This
One I
says
have
the
it
June
taped to mine.
27.
Yeah,
Let me see what's online.
I have June 27, but I want to make sure that's the correct one.
Yeah, that's a good point. Glad you caught that.
1284670.
Yeah, and we have also online is
Okay.
is correct,
The list of bills.
Oh, that's.
right? But the bill
Online
total
it
is
says the same.
says the same thing. Says
Right.
So
The
the-
list is correct. but not the whole.
so. The bill list. What's the total in the bill list? 1.248.
Yeah, that's right. It's
list
just the dates
matches-
wrong.
Yeah.
The list matches the total
Yep.
sheet.
It just should say July 11th. All right, let's try this again. Motion, bill list totals by fund dated July 11th, 2023, and the grand total amount of $1,284,670.95.
Thank you. May I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion or comments?
Just had a question about a couple expenses. On page 1, there is 2 for assurance consulting. I understand that's Mr. Levinson. But the one I had a question about was the Phase 7 PUB. It's for $3,262. Do you know what that is for?
I believe, isn't he doing a search for the planning board?
Is that what that is? That's
No.
what I thought, but
That's not it yet.
That's not it?
No,
Yeah.
those bills haven't come in yet. It would be less than that too.
Did we approve
He
that?
has his normal consulting that he does for
The health department.
health
Services.
department.
Listen, okay.
And then, yes, he is doing the other two special consulting projects, one for the planning board and one for the manager search.
Do we need to do while we're on this topic, do we need to do a resolution to approve the funding for the planning board to move forward with him as a consultant?
There should be enough within consulting, because
Okay.
we had put extra in beginning of the year, knowing that they were going to do some special projects and stuff like that.
So you think we're good? Okay, so we don't have to worry about it then. Okay.
Any other questions about the bill list?
One more was on page 3. There's a Garden State Laboratories. Let me pull that one up. I never, was trying to figure out what that was. It looks like another consulting arrangement.
Garden State does all of our testing and stuff for the water department.
Got you.
And samples. So
Okay, that's what that, I just had a question what it was. Okay. Well, that's all the questions I have on the line item expenses.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on the expenses? All right, we had a motion is made and seconded. All those in favor of adopting or approving the expenses, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, the expenses are approved.
Mayor, who seconded the motion?
I thought Doug, yeah, okay, I'm sorry, you got that, yeah.
Dean, yeah.
At this time, we have one ordinance to introduce, and there is no public or council comment at the introduction of an ordinance, so will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 23-16?
The Township of Sparta amending Chapter 11-2 Retail Food Establishment Code of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Sparta.
Thank you. May I have a motion to introduce ordinance 23-16?
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 23-16.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Excellent. Any comments about its introduction, not about its merits or policy?
Yes.
Okay.
So where did this come from? Where did this version come from?
So this was,
The blue line.
this was, at one point, we had talked about having a public discussion, and the council at the time decided that it would be better to have email collecting the thing from email, so I collected responses from email and collaborated and found what I thought was a common thread and worked with the deputy mayor, manager, assistant manager, and the clerk and the legal counsel to craft something that was sort of in the middle of the road.
Okay, so our township council, our lawyer, has seen this, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this came from the.
So, because we.
And I actually have a matrix that I put together for myself just to put out, in this condition, in this location, what's allowed and not allowed, that from the ordinance, and I'll share that with you, with everybody here when we're done.
So my question is, I just want to point out the fact that under 11-10.3, A1, I believe that's incorrect. I believe the way that's supposed to read is for events open to the public on township property. If those words are not put in there, then it is in direct conflict with the other stipulations within this ordinance. So I want to bring it up now because I think it's just an omission, an accidental omission. And I don't want to get to the point where we're ready to have a hearing and then have to go back and make these corrections. So we may want to introduce this ordinance with that change, is what I'm asking.
And can you state that change again, please? 11-10.3.
11-10.3, and then under
No
A,
person shall conduct, operate, or maintain a mobile unit within, the way,
no. Wait a second.
I'm sorry, go ahead, sorry.
So the first one I have is 11-10.3, class 4 license required. Do you guys see that?
Yep, and I see
Okay,
A,
then
B,
go to I,
AI.
AI.
Yep,
For events open to the public.
right.
What needs to be there is on township property. So if you are doing an event on township property, because if you don't have that in there, it is a direct conflict with what follows in the end. If you just leave it general for anyone, it's a conflict.
Leave it in.
The only question I would have, well, it's in conflict with which other part?
It says if
The
you have
double I?
if you have it personally, then you don't, the truck doesn't need a license. So one says you,
Right, if there's a private, if it's on private property
right.
without
it's
serving the
not open to
public, and it's a
right.
private event,
Right.
then you don't need a license. But there could be an instance where you have a food truck on private property that's serving members of the public.
That's true. And sorry,
Example-
Chris, I jumped in, but I thought you were speaking where it says, person shall not conduct, operate, or maintain a mobile unit within Sparta Township without first obtaining the Class 4 license, but later on it says you can have it privately in
Yeah.
Sparta without needing the license.
Yeah.
So if that read on Sparta property, I think it alleviates
I
That
think that's
problem.
that's the point. So where was that section?
right here, just the main section 11-10.3.
Except as otherwise provided, no person shall conduct without first obtaining a license from the township level. First obtaining a license as defined from the Sparta Township Clerk's office. So,
Operate or maintain a mobile unit on Sparta Township property without first obtaining a Class 4 license.
Right, and that's for which number is that one?
That's
for
the main part, and then I and 2, obviously.
A, that's A.
That's A.
Yep, and then
Yeah.
I underneath that, okay. Oh, so it goes up there, not here, you're saying,
Right.
right? Okay.
but as the attorney pointed out, if a person was on private property and serving the public from private property, we would like that person to still obtain a license.
Yeah, but then, I mean, that would be like if somebody was having a neighborhood barbecue and letting the neighbors all come in and eat, that they're serving, or if they have a party catered.
That would be called, to me, a private event,
Yeah,
and
that's
so that
not the
would be
public.
covered under the private event. This was specifically for someone parked at, I think, like the Sparta Dairy, sometimes has a truck there. So it's private property, but they're serving the public. Anybody can walk up the street and go. And so anybody who's serving the public, we would like to have a record of
They should have
that.
a yearly license, they could buy a yearly license.
Correct.
And they
Well,
could do it that way.
But I understand there seems to be a gap here.
Example that was brought to my attention involved I guess it's the Renaissance Fair that's on private property but open to the public.
Open to the public.
So we want that food truck to have a license.
Right, we want a record.
Why do we feel like we have to license it. I mean, I assume every truck that's operating has to be licensed by the county for health, for
Yes.
health reasons,
That's
right?
correct.
Right.
So why do we feel like we have to require an additional license?
Well, the distinction, the intent there was because they're serving the public. So we're,
if the
in any
public can walk up-
instance where the public is being served by a food truck in Sparta Township, the idea was that they should be licensed by
We
Sparta.
want to make sure that that person has the right licenses
I
and
do, well, I think.
that we know that that person's there.
I'll tell you just from personal experience that when people call for these trucks, whether it's a birthday party, whether it's, event like that, a truck who's coming for one day to do something like that, they're not going to do it. And people are going to find it more difficult and more difficult to be able to do these things.
Well, for an event, for a private event, that, we'll not need a license for that. If you're serving your own private block party or something like that. But if you're open for business, come public, here, I've got a window open, eat tacos or whatever. I think that there's a distinction there. At least that's how I.
You know what, I think
read it.
now we're actually discussing this, we
I
probably should.
I think we are, but it's a,
Let's introduce it then, if you
Yeah.
guys don't feel, if now that it's clarified that that's not an error. As I said before, I just didn't want it to go forward and then.
That's a good point.
At the hearing, then come back and make a change and then reintroduce it again. So it was not my intention to get us off track.
no, I'm glad you brought this up.
I remember when we had previous discussions, well over a year ago, the idea was just to regulate it on Sparta property, so that made sense.
We were not getting involved because Sparta Township no longer has, a lot of these ordinances were created when Sparta had its own health department. So of course you would come to Sparta and get a permit, but you're not getting that anymore because we don't have a health department. You're going to the county. So the only benefit of a food truck getting a license in Sparta is that we know they're here.
Correct.
We can't say no, we can't say yes, we don't inspect, we don't do any of that. That's all done at the county level.
Yep.
So I think we just need to take those things into consideration and the fact that this ordinance was not originally created just for food truck. It was for different things when we had our own health
I'm just going to
department.
say this, and I don't want to get into this, but I think if we're going to do something like this or things like this, we should have an easy online
Yep.
process. Otherwise, we're going to shut it down, and that's going to make people very upset.
Yep. So I think these are all very healthy. I do anticipate that this is going to go through at least one more cycle because this is not going to be perfect out of the gate, and we're going to have some great ideas and discussion and tweak this thing at least one more time. And so it's now out in the ecosphere if we introduce it and if we go forward and introduce it. And then I'm going to try to put, like I said, distribute a matrix I made for myself just so I can understand, lay this all out in my own mind. And then if we want to collect feedback on it, and then we'll have, when it's for the hearing, if we want to introduce changes, at that time, if we introduce changes at a hearing, I guess it's going to be subject to, if it's materially different, then it has to be
That's
reintroduced.
exactly right. If there are material changes, then, we'd have to republish the proposed ordinance.
Understood.
So we have 2316, which is the one that's existing right now. And then we have 23 dash whatever, this is the new draft.
Well, this is
So we have to
2316.
take These two now, and I think this is what we did before. So we gave you the feedback, you said you put the feedback into this new blue line document.
Mhm.
So, okay, so we'll all look through it again.
Yep.
We'll send, what is the process? We're sending it to you?
Send it to me, and I can aggregate it. Yeah, okay. And so,
We just need the vote. I think you got the first and the
so we have it approved. Any other comments on the ordinance as introduced? Okay, may I have a roll call vote, please, to introduce ordinance 23-16?
Councilman Blumetti,
Yes.
Councilman Hertzberg,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark,
Yes.
Councilwoman Quinn,
Yes.
Mayor Chiarello.
Yes, the ordinance is introduced. Now we have 3 ordinances up for a hearing. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 23-12?
Township of Sparta authorizing the acquisition of certain real property located in the Township of Sparta, Lions Gate.
Excellent. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance 23-13 as read? I'm sorry, I need a public comment. Do we need a public comment first, or we?
hearing.
Well, no, you could
Yeah, I'm sorry, I
take
missed
first
it.
and a second, and then open it to the public.
Let's open this up to the public first. That was my mistake. Is there any public comment on ordinance 23-12? Okay, sorry for the confusion. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council. May I have a motion to introduce or to adopt ordinance 23-12?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second? Thank you. Any comment or question on ordinance 23-12? Hearing none, may I have a roll? I'm
I
sorry.
actually do have a question.
Sure.
So my understanding, right, is that Lionsgate Partners is conveying to us certain property that, so there can be, so they can undergo the expense of building a detention pond, is that right? Or is that how it works? And then we pay for it, but who is paying the expenses for the actual detention basis? Is that us, or is that Lionsgate Partners LLC?
My understanding was we were acquiring the property for a detention pond. I believe they were supposed to allow us the property, and it's gonna cost about $4,500 to build the detention pond.
This costs and expenses.
Okay.
That's not my understanding. My understanding is that it's on their
Oh, it could be
property and
expenses to sale.
and they're
Sorry.
constructing the retention basin. And then they're going to transfer it
give us
over
the
to us. The $4,500 is, I don't know whether it was for engineering expenses or costs, but I didn't think there were any actual monetary exchange between us and,
This is.
Actually, at the second whereas, it says, has offered to construct a required detention basin at convey at no extra charge to the council, to the township.
Section 1, it says it'll happen after the construction.
right, they were going to do the work.
This is down by where we just built the pump
Yeah.
station at the.
This is Celia, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And when Mr. Hack did the engineering for that, he said we really should have it an easement or create a detention pond on the end of that cul-de-sac.
So it's going to be our property, but we're giving them an easement to do the work, and they're responsible for taking care of it.
Yes.
But if we have to, we go in and we do what we have to do.
It's their property right now.
Right.
They're going to construct the retention basin.
And then turn it over.
Then they're going to transfer title over to us.
Right, just like we would with a road in a project.
Exactly.
Right.
Thank you.
So direct answer to your question is that it does include that the basin will be there.
And then the cost and expenses related to maintaining the detention basis after it's constructed, that is the township's responsibility?
That is going to be the township's responsibility indeed. That
Okay.
becomes
That point going forward.
And then-
municipal property.
Okay, and then my understanding is Mr. Stoner, our new engineer, he would be overseeing this construction of the detention basin so that we know that it's up to spec and that we'd hate to get a hold of something that falls apart and now we're responsible for the costs and expenses of a bad detention basis. And that's my concern.
Yeah, I'm sorry to keep interrupting,
Yeah.
but, it was really Ed Hack, our former interim engineer, who was directly involved in this particular aspect of the project and negotiated, in essence, this sharing responsibility. And it's on the recommendation of Mr. Hack that this be done indeed.
Okay.
So he indeed investigated the work that was going to be done, the plan for the work, and then the aftermath, the responsibility that we will be taking on afterwards.
Okay, great. Yeah, that clears it up for me. I just wanted to make sure that the township, since it was now going to undergo the costs and expenses of maintaining it, that we had someone from the township involved in the actual oversight of the construction itself, and it sounds like we did.
Well, indeed, through the planning of it, now it's going to be Mr. Stoner who's going to step in as it progresses.
And then it's just like everything else. We do an inspection. If it's not done right, we don't take it.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Are there any other liabilities associated with this property that we should be aware of besides the expense of this basin?
No, all the piping and stuff was removed. I mean, the original issue with this whole project was when the sewer line was built for this road, it was actually put underneath the Walk Hill River. The flood in 2008, 9, whatever it was, exposed the piping, and it set that way for approximately 10 to 15 years. And basically, we put a pump station in because obviously all of the sewage lines were heading down to the Walk Hill, so we needed to put a pump station in to lift the sewage back up to the main on Main Street so that we could clear the pipe out of the Walk Hill River. So that was finally done after all the years, and, now there is no danger to the Walk Hill River anymore.
And we were able to use grant monies that we got from COVID-related grants to be able to go in and do it.
Be able to build the pumps, the lift
Yep.
station, pump station, whatever you want to call it, and remove any of the lines that were intruding into the Walk Hill River.
Which was a huge benefit to those that lived there, because if we were not able to secure those funds and those grants, then there was a real risk, and we have been talking about not wanting to do that, of having to assess each home for the value to repair it.
Well, it
So
highlights,
we're very lucky that we did not have to do that.
it highlights the need for good inspections prior to
Yes.
taking these things over.
Correct. So we have a first and a second.
Any other comments or questions? No. All right, thank you. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Blumetti,
Yes.
Councilman Hertzberg,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark,
Yes.
Councilwoman Quinn,
Yes.
Mayor Chiarello.
Yes, the ordinance is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 23-13?
An ordinance appropriating the total sum of $2,500,000 from General Capital Improvement Fund for funding various capital improvements or purposes by the Township of Sparta in the County of Sussex, New Jersey.
Thank you. And at this time, I will ask the public if has any comment or questions on ordinance 23-13.
Jenny Derrick, Step into Sparta. I think at the last meeting, I had asked what the projects were. I believe the answer was most of it is roads, or half of the money is going to roads. Do we have other projects that we're working on that you
Call me in
know?
the morning, I'll give you a break.
Okay, that's fair. Thank you.
Ouch. Okay, any other comments from the public on ordinance 23-13? Seeing none, I'll bring it to the council. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance 23-13?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on ordinance 23-13?
I would just follow up that I think it would be helpful, and I'm glad, and maybe Jenny will write an article that actually identifies what the money is being spent on. I think it would be helpful for the public to know if we're going to spend $2.5 million, what it's getting spent on. So if there's a way to get that out into the public, because the way the ordinance, I know you can't put that, maybe you can or cannot in the actual ordinance. It might be helpful so people know when we're dealing with large sums of money and large expenditures, what it's actually getting spent on.
I think the most important thing to actually put forward to the public is that we are paying for this in cash. There'll be no bonding. Basically, just for the record, most of our bonds will be paid off next year, so the township will have no outstanding long-term bond issues left.
Not too many towns can say that.
That is unbelievable and amazing, especially coming out of what we just did the past 2 years.
Basically, the state allows us to go up to 3% debt without special permission. Our debt ratio right now is like 0.012.
We're finally going to get that extra little plus on our rating.
We just need the third one, Sam. Are we ready for it?
I don't know. I mean,
They want you to have debt, right? That's
I
how you
sort
get
of
it.
look at our rating sort of almost like you would look at your home debt score. So you need well-balanced debt sometimes
Of course, they want you to
get
have
a
debt.
good credit rating.
All right, keep it where it is then.
That's fine. We'll stick with the A++, the AA++ rather than the third.
Find out where we can send a box of chocolates to.
Am I right that the cash that's used to pay for this, is that from taxpayer funds?
That is coming directly out of what was in this year's budget, yes.
Okay.
So that basically what I mean, it's all cash proceeds. It's not, we're not going out for any long-term debt or anything like that.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments on ordinance 23-13 from the dais? Hearing none, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Blumetti,
Yes.
Councilman Hertzberg,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark,
Yes.
Councilwoman Quinn,
Yes.
Mayor Chiarello.
Yes, the ordinance is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 23-14?
An ordinance appropriating the total sum of $500,000 from Water Capital Improvement Fund for funding various water capital improvements or purposes by the Township of Sparta in the County of Sussex, New Jersey.
Excellent, thank you. At this time, I'd like to open up to the public for any comment or questions on ordinance 23-14.
Derek's happened to Sparta, same question. Do you know what or should I just call you tomorrow?
Yeah, well, most of this actually all goes to water improvements, replacement of water lines. I know this year we're looking at getting one of the tanks painted. So a good majority would probably go to the tanks painting. And any vehicles that they may need in the water department would actually be able to come out of this too. The water obviously is not quite as, basically has the ease that the township has as far as setting up capital, but we are at least able to pull steadily $500,000 a year to try and pay for capital projects in cash.
And this comes from the water utility.
This comes from the water budget alone.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the public or comments on ordinance 23-14? Seeing none, I'll bring it to the dais. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance 23-14 as read?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second? Thank you. Any comments or questions on ordinance 23-14?
Just a question, and maybe this is a Jim Zepp question and not a Sam Rome question, but are you familiar with whatever methodology analysis they go through to determine what will be the capital improvements? Like, how do they prioritize how they're going to spend the $500,000? How do you
This
decide?
was actually the
It's the
water
water
department.
department, not DPW.
Water department, again, they'll measure out the lines. Obviously, we have some older water lines. We have a older part of the system where they're trying to replace the lines to the newer, more efficient lines. And also, we have some tanks where they need to basically extend the useful life of the tank by sandblasting and painting and whatever else is entailed.
Our meter project is also completed, correct? We did
Right.
that last year. We completed, because I know we were going through and switching out all the meters. So is
yeah.
that included in here too?
Yeah,
I thought it was- I
they
don't
were
know.
switching, I mean, part of that will come out of there, out of that money. Usually the water director will weigh out what projects and allocate the money as far as it'll go. But yeah, they're pretty far along on the meter conversion. And basically what they're trying to do with that is take out the older meters where it required actually somebody to go in and manually read the meter and get it all to the electronic ones where they can just drive down the street and read the meters with the gun.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments on ordinance 23-14? Hearing none, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Blumetti,
Yes.
Councilman Hertzberg,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark,
Yes.
Councilwoman Quinn,
Yes.
Mayor Chiarello.
Yes, the ordinance is adopted. At this time, I'd like to open it up to the public for any questions or comments on resolutions 9-1 through 9-8.
So moved.
I'm sorry, seeing that was at the public comment. So seeing nobody from the public, back at the council, may I have does anybody want me to carve out or want us to carve out any of the ordinances 9-, too late, 9-, no, kidding.
Road, you have a list of the road repairs. Jenny Derrick's tapping to Sparta, sorry.
9-7.
9-7, thank you. are we using the same process of that does anybody know? That
Microsurfacing?
surfacing,
Yeah, he's using a mixture.
micro sealing?
This year.
I'm sorry?
He's still using a mixture of actual asphalt and micro sealing.
So they're still doing that?
So
Not for every road, I think, so.
when this happened, whenever it was last year, the year before, I actually had Jim come down to some of the neighborhoods, and what he explained was some of the roads that are too narrow for them to pull the trucks around the right way, that's where you get all these issues. So I said, I'm like, well, we should probably not do it on those smaller roads and maybe just stick to the main roads. And he's like, we're gonna look at, and he recognized that there was an issue with it that year. And he said they were looking at maybe only using it in the roads where it made sense and not using it in certain other places. And
Okay, so it's possible in this round, they're not.
yeah, I mean, I'm just saying this was the conversation I had when it
Okay.
happened because I brought it up because I had just about every neighbor in my neighborhood come and knock on my door and complain
Yeah,
about
I'll
it.
give you a tour of my neighborhood. Okay.
But it was clearly an issue. I took pictures. I mean, I actually talked to the representatives from the company, and it's just, it wasn't acceptable. And I think that they found a good way to use it, to extend the life of roads and save the taxpayers money, but also knowing places that maybe it shouldn't be used.
Not appropriate for everywhere, yeah.
We'll see.
We only had oil and chip before
Right.
this process, and it just doesn't seem to work well on that
Yeah,
subsurface.
the way they explained it, it's the way the trucks have to move, and it just doesn't, I don't know. It was an issue in some of the neighborhoods, and in other places, it's been great.
Yeah.
I mean, it actually works better on highways that use more traffic, and it looks great.
Yeah.
But
I think they found out too, it's better going down an asphalt base versus
Right.
going on stone and
The
chip.
stone and chip is what we had, and doesn't work. Right?
There is another variable in that it does wear down the blades as well as the plows a lot harder than the regular asphalt. So there's a downside. Yeah, there's more maintenance on the blades. Yeah. All right, anybody else from the public on resolutions 9-1 through 9-8? Seeing none, anyone on the council want us to have a separate discussion on any of the resolutions?
Yes, please. I'd like to carve out 9-3, 9-4, and 9-8 for some questions, please.
3, 9, 4, and 9, 8.
And I do have a question on 9-7.
And 9-7. Okay, so let's do this in order. So may I have a motion to approve resolutions 9-1 and 9-2?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second.
second,
Thank you. Any discussion on 9-1 and 9-2? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving resolutions 9-1 and 9-2, say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstain? All right, 9-1 and 9-2 are accepted. May I have a motion to approve resolution 9-3?
so moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I second the motion.
Excellent. And any comments on resolution 9-3?
Yes, a few questions. I'd like to understand this a little bit more. I understand what the resolution's about and what the consultant would do at a high level. I'm just would like to know what specific consulting functions and duties they usually do and what they'll be doing until the end of the year. And also, does this imply that this is the partner we're going to use in the next few years as we get close to the 2025 requirements that are announced and planning for all that?
So we already have this in place. This person handles all of our, takes all the requests, handles all the requests. And with regard to what's coming up in 2025, that was negotiated by Tom Collins and the planning board. But this is the company, and this is the same company we're using now, correct?
This is the company we've used for several years. They're
Right.
one of the few companies that handle the COA stuff. Basically, their responsibility is if anybody comes in seeking a low-income housing unit within the township, they will, help this person through the process of purchasing the home, and basically, they monitor the whole program for us.
Okay, so that's really what they're doing week to week, month to month, right? Is that for this year? Okay,
Everything that has to do with the affordable housing program.
okay. So this doesn't have anything to do with our strategy or planning as we try to get ready for 2024, 2025, the new requirements that will be coming down the road with the, right?
They will be helping us probably with the plan and stuff like that, because again, this is this is their expertise, is
Okay.
anything that has to do with affordable housing and how the plan should probably be run.
Okay. I mean, I would think this contract goes to the end of this year, so I would think we still have time to plan for that and assess whether they're the right partner and maybe bounce it off the planning board and their professionals as well as we get towards not these week-to-week, month-to-month duties, but the bigger plan for what's coming down the road for our next requirements. Right? Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, I mean, there's maybe other coal companies out there that are affordable housing companies, but
Yeah.
these ones by far, I think, are used primarily in the county pretty much.
Yeah, they look pretty, I looked them up and did a little research. I mean, they look pretty extensive in terms of their capabilities, their service areas. I mean, it seems, I'm not doubting their competency at all.
Pretty good ratings from other
Yeah.
municipalities of their comparability.
Okay. Thanks, Sam.
Okay, any other questions on 9-3? Okay, all those in favor of approving Resolution 9-3, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? All right, 9-3 is approved. May I have a motion to approve Resolution 9-4?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on Resolution 9-4?
Yes, I have some questions about this. I'd like to open a discussion. I understand what a deputy township manager would do. And this states that during any absence of the manager, for whatever reasons, deputy manager would exercise lots of duties and responsibilities. What I'd like to learn more about is what are the ongoing duties and responsibilities, say on a weekly basis, that this individual will be doing when you are in the office? So in other words, we're going to pay them $1,000 a month. Typically, an increase in pay comes with a little bit more responsibilities or time or job duties to keep up to
Basically, we
speed.
have had a deputy manager for at least the last 12 to 13 years. I was made deputy manager probably, I think, within my first 9 months of being here. Basically, ended up being the manager or interim deputy, whatever, I believe it was 2012 and 13 when the prior manager made an exodus.
But so Sam, can I just say that one of the things that I saw from you was that you always had to be prepared to step in. So it takes, can't just do your job. You had to know what.
Sickness, whatever may happen, you need somebody that is familiar with it. And I was always, as deputy manager, was always invited into the meetings with the council. Was usually would come to all of the council meetings. I wasn't here just because I liked it.
Really?
But basically, at any moment's notice, God forbid, you should have to step into the position, you were aware of what was going on and could pick up the business of the town. You got to remember, bottom line here, we are running $150 million a year business here. With all the money that flows through, what goes to the school boards, goes to the county and everything else, there's $150 million that flows through here.
200
a year.
employees.
So it's not like you're running a mom and pop.
And the other thing that I've seen also is that you and even Jim Zepp more recently are able to attend events in each other's space. So in other words, if Sam can't go, Jim goes, and vice versa, so that we can be represented at more things as well. So I think that's also something important to, God bless you, important to note.
I guess that's the essence of my question is this individual going to be doing that? Or are they going to be, is it instead just where they're waiting in the wings for in case you're out?
No.
For right now is, why I'm still basically acting interim manager, whatever, there still needs to be somebody in the wings that can step in.
But not just in the wings, he's going to have to be at the meetings and understand what's going on so that he can step in.
Right.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Is that a fact?
Yes.
That's what happens? Okay,
Yes.
okay.
And that's been the process for the past 12 years.
Well, that's important, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, if we're gonna pay someone extra, I think that they, and then more than the money, they need to be up to speed. If, God forbid, they have to step in at a moment's notice, they can't just have not been involved, right? That's where I think we agree on that.
That's it. So,
Yeah.
so that they have basically a little, basic knowledge of what's going on. You know, they might not know every cue if they got to step in,
Sure,
but
yeah.
they'll have a pretty good knowledge.
So is there a, I guess, you might answer my question, and I was wondering why, about the timing. So we are about to
Basically,
interview
I
candidates
went away
for
on
a
vacation.
new time manager.
Actually, in May.
Yeah.
You know, at that point, I asked Jim to step in as the deputy manager, and basically realizing that, yeah, all this time, except for the last 6 months, we really had nobody else to step in. So that's why we made that appointment for him. You know, may go away when we actually get a manager in here, and I step back to just doing my finance. But yeah, that's it. But as long as he's in there, I wanted to allow him a stipend to be able to do this. And any of these titles or promotions, in order to be recognized by pension so that it can be included into pensionable base, it needs to be done by a resolution.
Okay, so there's no timing on this in terms of duration, so when a new town manager comes in, he or she can, I mean, obviously it'll be you if you're CFO again, but they can actually assess the situation and needs and select their own assistant town manager,
Yeah.
correct, right, if
Yeah,
they need
you-
An
to.
appointment by the manager, it's not an appointment by the council. So we.
That's what I mean, so the new town manager is
The new
not
town manager
limited,
can
yeah.
decide to stay with who they have, or they could pick someone of their own liking, but we have nothing to do with that appointment. That appointment is a manager appointment as part of day-to-day business.
Yep, not arguing that.
Okay, any other questions? From anyone on 9-4?
And just, so prior to December 31st, 2022, there was a deputy town manager, and that would be you. is
That was
right?
me.
That was
Okay,
Stan.
got you. And then since December 31st, 2022, that deputy township manager has been vacant, is that right?
It'd been vacant up until
May.
May, when I went on vacation and was going overseas. And that's when I put Jim in charge.
Okay.
As the-
And so, am I right then that Mr. Zepp's experience with respect to the duties that are incumbent upon a deputy town manager, his experience with that would be that one time that he stepped in for you when you went overseas? But other than that, there's no other time that he's been deputy town manager, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
But one of the reasons, again, the amount of personnel that Mr. Zepp supervises, he probably, between him and the chief, they're probably comparable for the amount of personnel that they supervise. So
Actually,
he
Sam-
has the managerial experience.
He did step in for you once before as well, the last time you were interim manager,
Yeah, it might have been.
when you were on vacation, he stepped up.
And you do get sick sometimes, and you're.
And he's
right?
allowed to take vacation.
Yeah, and you
And
go
No,
on vacation.
I was
Not
more
leap year.
trying to get at Mr. Zepp's experience in this actual role and trying to give me and the public an understanding what his experience is in this particular area.
So we're just ratifying the decision that you already made in May.
Correct.
Yes, basically.
For the
Yeah.
pension.
And like I said, any changes that we do as far as giving a person a stipend for picking up an additional position or whatever, if we do not do that by resolution, it would not be allowed in their pensionable base.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on 9-4? Right, all those in favor of approving 9-4, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? All right, 9-4 is approved. May I have a motion to approve resolutions 9-5 and 9-6?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on 9-5 and 9-6? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving 9-5 and 9-6, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? All right, 9-5 and 9-6 are approved.
Congratulations, Dawn.
Is Dawn here? May I have a motion to approve Resolution 9-7?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on Resolution 9-7?
Yeah, my only question, and this actually, and Chris corrected me, I was wrong earlier, that this is a Jim Zepp question, which is, how do we go about determining which roadways will be subject to repair under this particular resolution? 'Cause I think, again, it's all about trying to explain to people who come to you and say, how come their road got paved and mine didn't?
It's got a schedule.
Usually
right?
it's on a
It's got a
need
calendar.
basis. I mean, we are basically on a schedule
10
where
years.
he tries to get at least 10 miles of roadway done a year. We have 104 miles of township-owned roadway in the township. He is pretty much on track that every road has been paved sometime within the last 10-year period. Might be one or two that didn't make it, but we're pretty close. So out of 104 miles of road, that is a pretty good accomplishment.
And paving roads is expensive.
Yeah, I
Yes,
mean-
it is. I mean, again, the micro surfacing helped on some of the roads, but. again,
It does
most
allow
of
us to pave more roads, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
them- Right. It is a little bit
Might not look pretty.
more
but-
cost effective, but still in all. And we also do have some roads that go through on this contract that we've received the state DOT project on. So usually whatever road that is will get approved within this contract as well.
And Sam, it's my understanding that in the last 10 years, you've doubled the amount of money being spent on roads. That the amount of roads that are done has almost doubled.
Yes, and basically every road that has been maintained within the last 10-year period has either been covered by a state DOT grant or has been paid for in cash.
Any other questions on Resolution 9-7?
Yeah, I think, not that I have a question, it's more just, I think it's helpful, it's a matter of priority, right? I think it's helpful for the public, that why did you choose this road and not that road? I get that we have 101 miles, but I gather we don't just put our hand into and pick out whatever road. I think there's probably some type of analysis that's done to determine why Deanne Terrace is getting done and not some other road within Sparta.
One of the particular problems that's sort of thrown a little bit of a monkey wrench into his selection this year is the Elizabethtown situation.
Yeah.
So, we're trying to pick a road that either they've already done and we can pave and not worry about them digging it back up
Another
again.
variable.
Or, so that was a little bit of a stickler this year. I know he was kicking it around and trying to find out where they're going. Unfortunately, they're all over the place. So it's,
Well, according to our ordinance, if they touch a road that has been paved in the last 5 years,
they got to pay us for
then
it.
then they pay for it.
Yep.
And that is in our ordinance.
So, and that's,
And unfortunately, they're also using that against us, to residents that ask for their
right.
gas lines. They say, oh, sorry, you got to talk to the
Sorry.
town. So,
They should be
Good and bad.
coordinating with Jim so that when this, you can't do it on your own. They can't do it on their own, so.
The DPW chief also shared with me that every road has a grade, A through F or whatever the grading scale is. And that is one of the variables that they pull from which roads do I pave this year.
Thank you, that's helpful.
All right, any other questions on 9-7? All right, all those in favor of approving Resolution 9-7, say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstain? All right, Resolution 9-7 is passed. May I have a motion to approve Resolution 9-8? Thank you. May I have a second?
second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on Resolution 9-8?
I have a couple questions I'd like to ask on this one. I've been actually getting some questions regarding privacy and data security, people thinking, Big Brother. Understandably, people are concerned a little bit about being tracked. So how many of these readers are we going to receive and where, if you're comfortable sharing that? If not, that's fine.
Sure. Thank you. I think we discussed this a little bit before, especially the privacy concerns. So this resolution is the starting point just to accept the funds from the state of the grant that we were awarded. But as far as we have it plotted throughout the town, that's subject to change by the time that we're up and running. What we're looking to do is try to cover the boundaries of our town. If somebody comes in, God forbid, grabs a child, and they leave town, we're going to hope to catch that plate on one of our plate readers. As far as where they're all going to be right now, again, we're looking on the boundaries of the town, anywhere that's an exit to a neighboring town, but it's subject to change. As far as privacy, so this obviously, New Jersey is one of the most private states in the country. We're held to some levels where we have to get warrants for a lot of different things, which rightfully so, and other states do not. With that being said, to upgrade what has been in place since 2010, the state came together to combat against crime, and mostly we're talking motor vehicle thefts, the uptick in motor vehicle thefts throughout the state. And I believe, just to give you, I want to say it was around 200, it was over 200 motor vehicles were stolen within 2 or 3 days over the 4th of July weekend in the state.
Wow.
And Sparta, we've had the issue too. We've had individuals come up and steal motor vehicles, and lucky enough, we have a good track record of getting those vehicles back. But this is just another tool for us to combat against that. With the privacy, what those plate readers read is what's only open to public view. So any of you could look outside or go down the road and see the same thing that the plate reader is going to read. It's not going to read something that's not viewable to the public. That data that's collected is only available to authorized users, which have to be trained, which we are trained, and we have to have a policy on, which is accepted by the state in accordance with the AG guidelines, which we have done already. From there, we also have a liaison for our municipality, which is Lieutenant Snyder in the back, and there's a county liaison and also a state liaison. So therefore, these liaisons communicate on a regular basis, but more importantly, an audit process throughout the year, which is done first at our level to make sure that it's not being misused and to make sure that anybody who's using the data that's collected is using it correctly and is also trained on it. That information then goes to the county, who oversees again, does their own audit, and then obviously the state. So privacy, they're out there being used right now. We've had them in our township. We don't have currently any operational ones, but we did have them in the past, I want to say up until about 3 or 4 years ago, on patrol vehicles. And we feel, just for research and communication with law enforcement partners, that we're going to get better results for solving crime with stationary units. It's not to say that we may have a mobile unit, but I think it's more important to cover our boundaries than anything else. To use it for any personal business is unacceptable and not allowed. And again, that goes through with the audits. Any other questions?
It's really helpful. I appreciate it. Do you know how long is the data stored for, and is it stored locally? Where is it stored?
So
Yeah.
the data is stored with the company, but the data is not the company that we're going to, and we're still up in the air on what company. We're looking at different ones. It's stored for 3 years, and that's in accordance with the AG guidelines. Used to be 5 years, and the state cut that down. Now, if it's involved with any crime, the information that's collected from or used with that crime will be stored with the data retention or the retention of records for the actual case.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on Resolution 9-8?
Yeah, my understanding was that this isn't a surveillance tool. It's more that, let's give an example. If, heaven forbid, a bank is robbed and you wanted to find out, okay, what were all the cars that went by this bank
Correct.
at the time, what this reader enables you to do is basically have a whole data set of every car and its license plate that passed by this particular bank at this particular time. So it's a crime-solving technique, not, hey, let's put a license plate in here and figure out where this car has been for the past year.
No, That's,
yeah.
so it's not a real-time function. It's not recording all the time. It's recording the vehicle by picture, by snapshot when it's going by. So just to give you an example, a neighboring jurisdiction had an incident yesterday. A vehicle description went out. If that was in Sparta and we had our plate readers throughout the town and that went out of town, we would have had that vehicle. We would be able to search and find out a license plate for that vehicle if it had one affixed to the vehicle. And then we were able to put out a bolo to neighboring jurisdictions to stop the vehicle and investigate further.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions on 9-8? All right, all those in favor of approving Resolution 9-8, say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstain? All right, the resolution is approved. At this time, I'd like to ask for any council liaison updates. I'll start with Councilwoman Quinn.
I do. So the Municipal Alliance Resource Team, so sponsors, a lot of different programs that we have in town. I mentioned that Matt was leaving because he and his son are moving to West Orange, so he's no longer able to serve on the board. So we have always worked very hard to make sure that we had a good cross-reference of demographics on the Alliance Committee, at least since I've been there, because the Alliance serves across all demographics. It's not just for youth or older or whatever. So with that said, we really want to make sure that we, that we stay in that tone. And with that said, tonight I'm bringing forward the name of Dawn Crumper to be nominated to that committee. I am nominating her formally to take the position of Matthew Poots, who left the Alliance. So I would like everyone's approval to be able to appoint her. Our next meeting is going to be in, I believe it's September. So I'd like to get her on board and get her up to speed. What? Yeah.
I'd like to second that nomination.
Thank you.
Excellent. So I guess you're pausing, so we'll adjudicate that. Any other questions on the nomination of Dawn Crumper for the Municipal Alliance? All those in favor of adding Dawn Crumper to the Municipal Alliance, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? All right, thank you.
All right,
That's
awesome.
done.
So, Roxanne, can you please put everything in formal writing so that then we can get her included onto the resource team? Awesome. Also, with regard to the Food Insecurities Initiative that I mentioned the last time I was here, I did reach out to Valerie. Patty, Marjorie, Valerie, and myself will be sitting down to talk about the recommendations that I'm going to be bringing back to council. So I hope to have that ready for our next meeting. So I just want to provide an update on that. In addition to that, we are working on that flyer, and we were told we need to have that to the manager's office by Wednesday of next week so that it can be included in the tax bill that goes out. So we're working on that as well, working on that with Emily. And also, finally, there was information that came out that is now available underneath the newsflash section of our website for people that are suffering or are dealing with food insecurity. You could take your phone. It includes a QR code. You can go out and you can actually click on it and get assistance. So if anyone needs it or knows of anyone that needs it, please make sure to share that they can get to it from our website, which is www.spartanj.org. And those, I believe, are my only updates with regard to the liaisons for the town. But I also am your liaison to the New Jersey League of Municipalities as well. So I just want to make sure that everyone is aware that I received notification 3 days ago saying that the Assembly Budget and Senate Appropriation Committee approved $54.3 billion. I think the important thing to note from this budget is that the budget includes $150 million appropriation identified as what's called the Municipal Relief Fund. And that is intended as a partial restoration of the energy tax receipts that we had lost. The New Jersey League of Municipality
has been partnering with them. It looks like this, if it goes, it looks like this may be double what we got before. So Sam and Tom, I think I forwarded this correspondence to you so that you were aware of what's going on. I think this is a step in the right direction if it actually happens and we actually get the money that it looks like we're gonna get. So I just wanted to make everyone aware. That was only decided on the 29th. That was when I received it. So I just wanted to bring that forward to everybody. And other than that, I have no other liaison reports.
Thank you. Councilman Hertzberg.
I have none, but I'm planning on trying to have our first business development meeting in August, and hopefully there will be a good report following that. I think Dan's gonna.
Or you can do it now if you want.
Yeah, I mean, who were the two people that we had? We had Bill Curcio,
And Brad Carlson?
Brad Carlson were the two that we had on there that I would like to bring forward.
Okay.
I
Excellent.
support that. Second that.
So we have a motion made to add Brad Carlson and William Curcio as members of the Business Development Committee. It was seconded by Councilwoman Quinn. Any questions or discussions on those two nominations for the Business Development Committee? Hearing none, all those in favor of adding those two individuals to the Business Development Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Deputy Mayor Clark, any committee updates?
No, I know that we were to meet with the Board of Education, but I think that meeting was canceled at their request, and I don't know if another one has been rescheduled.
Yeah, that's on me. I have not done that yet,
Okay.
and I will do that this week, or at least try to get the balls and wheel in motion to set a date this week, or set a date this week for a future date. So I apologize for not doing that.
Other than that, no updates.
Thank you. Councilman Moretti?
Yeah, I have a few updates from the Environmental Commission. First is the commission received a notice that a required notice from the DEP, that an application has been made to the NJDEP for a freshwater wetlands letter of interpretation and line verification for 114 Demarest Road, which is currently undeveloped land. It's about 13 acres. Second is the commission is starting up its review, which will take some time, of another, an extremely large resubmitted application that has come in recently on that same road. Third is the commission is planning to, August 10th meeting, which is a Thursday in August, first Thursday meeting for the EC in August, planning to have a guest speaker from the Land Conservancy of New Jersey, regarding open space planning and open space committees. So anyone from the public who's interested, please join us. And then lastly, I'd like to share with the council and the public, the council has already seen this, every year, the commission by ordinance is required to create and deliver an annual summary report to the council and the town manager regarding the last year of activity from the Environmental Commission. So I'd like to read a summary of that and share some of the great work that's been done. This was put together by our Environmental Commission Chairwoman, Kim Knoll, and with input from the rest of the commission. So she is the report author. Deserves a lot of credit for this. Also, before I get into it, I'd like to thank her and the rest of the Environmental Commission members and the Secretary, Michelle Landau, for all of their work and over the last year creating the contents of this report. Current members, Kim Knoll, who's the chair, Neil Sauerwein, vice chair, Christine Dunbar, Ted Gall, Rob Poles, Linda Towers, Christine Rogers, and as I mentioned, Michelle Landau is our secretary, and I'm the council liaison. So this report covers July 1st of last year through June 30th of this year. So just to summarize some of the meetings, there have been 16 meetings during that time over the last year. In terms of 2022, the third and fourth quarter, there were 4 different applications reviewed, mostly planning board. And then this year, first and second quarter, there was 8 8 or 9, actually, applications reviewed. Post Packaging, Sparta I Associates, 409 Woodport Road, 370 Lafayette JV, which is the Sparta Medical Campus. Also, they reviewed for both the Sparta Middle School and the high school rooftop solar mount systems as part of the capital improvement plan. And then also Delmar Woodport, their resubmitted application for a change, and 401 Houses Corner Road. The commission also sent in a correspondence and input to the NJDEP on a plan, I think I mentioned it a few meetings ago, to look at some of the wildlife management areas and apply herbicides that would attack invasive non-native species. Now, besides the primary duty of the commission, which is to review zoning board and planning board applications, there is also an element that helps with community engagement, environmental improvement, et cetera. The Environmental Commission submitted and was awarded 2 grant applications this year. We also welcomed and swore in 2 new alternate members. Last summer and fall, we were proud to have achieved the Bronze Sustainable Jersey certification process with lots of assistance and help from many dedicated employees and Sam and others. Also, the commission hosted a presentation by ANJEC, which is the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions, about water protections, and also then presented a resolution that the council has adopted protecting the Great Waters Resolution of New Jersey regarding water quality. There's been training for both ANJEC and also the Highlands Interactive Environmental Resource Inventory Tool, which is very interesting. If anyone likes to learn more about that, it's a free online tool. You can put in any town in the Highlands area. It's DEP data and some other sources, and you can pick down to your house if you want to pick your parcel of land, or you can pick a whole town or anything in between, and look at 20 different categories of what kind of environmental resources, the geology, the underlying water, the wildlife species, et cetera. It's really fascinating. Also, the commission has partnered with the Middle School Eco Club, and as many of you know, held the Earth Fair out in front of Town Hall here in April for Earth Day. Also completed the installation of a rain garden at Pope John High School in conjunction with Rutgers University. And finally, back in the fall, we did a cleanup, Clean Communities Road cleanup, right up by Stop and Shop on the interchange with 15 and 517. So just wanted to give you a flavor of what's happened with the Environmental Commission, and again, to thank all the people that are involved with it, and our chairwoman and our secretary. And we're looking forward to having you join our meetings and to more good work during this next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
That's it. Thanks.
I have nothing to offer for the committee updates. There is no unfinished business carried forward from prior meetings, so we have collapsed old business and new business together as just business, because there was always a weird distinction between what goes where. So any new or old business, to start with Councilman Bilbeni.
Just wanted to ask the same question from last time, to ask for a status on the missing sewer study. If there's been any kind of draft, or if we reached out to the vendor for that report.
Actually, we just found out where it was. We got a draft copy. It was turned over to Corey Stoner so that he could give us a proper review. I would suggest probably in future meetings, the council may want to invite him in on an executive session to go over that material and the findings. If possible, Mr. Ryan, there could be some confidential information or something that might be in there.
Okay, that'd be great. I would love that.
But he did go over it. I spoke with him today on the situation, and I says, okay, well, probably it would be best that, you come and explain it to the council and go over it in detail.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
And we might need to maybe bifurcate that. Anything that's confidential, we can discuss in executive session, but anything public,
Yeah, I'd like to take a look at it and
Yeah.
see what the issues are.
Sure.
Sam, can I ask, are you at liberty to disclose how it was found or where it's been for the last? Was a,
We finally got a draft copy, I believe, somehow out of the previous engineer's office, and was able to get that to Mr. Stoner to interpret for
I
us.
see, okay. Not our employee engineer, the past contractor. Understood.
Any other old or new business or business? Councilman Implementing?
No, that's it. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Deputy Mayor Clark?
Just a couple things. One, thank you, Dean, for the report. I think that it doesn't go unnoticed, the important work that the Environmental Commission does. Because I think if you ask most residents why they live here, probably the top three reasons will be the environment, and it's so vital what the commission does. I did have a question, and sorry to put it here, maybe I should have moved it earlier, was about, you said that there was an application for interpretation for a property on 111 Demorest Road to the DEP, is that right?
Yeah, 114 Demorest Road.
Okay.
An application went into the DEP, so they're required to notice the town, not just the EC, but the planning board, I think the clerk, et cetera, of that application to the DEP as a formal notice that work is going to be occurring.
Okay. Is it your understanding that when that is done, is that something that's sort of incident to prospective development in that area? Like, why would someone ask the DEP for an interpretation unless they were planning on doing some type of development in that area?
I mean, my personal impression is that's typically a reason, maybe not the only. Maybe they're just looking to sell the land, but it could be to develop it as well. It could be, I'd say typically that's a common reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Another one I had, and this is just a question, and sorry to put you on the spot, Ms. Diane, about the videotaping. Am I right that when you do the videotaping, are you focused just on us and not members of the audience? Is that right? Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that because I know, unfortunately, we live in kind of a day and age of what's called doxing and other things. And I know that someone who comes to the microphone is somewhat consented to being in the public face. The audience, however, has not. And I would be concerned that you're not making sure you're not panning to the audience or anything like that. Okay. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that since you're here. I was going to ask. Thank you. Is there anything else? Oh, did we ever find the master plan? I think that got revealed 2 weeks ago that it went missing. And did we found the sewer study? Can we find the master plan?
Yes.
Okay. So we have it.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Never left the building.
Great.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Hertzberg?
Yes, two things. One, I know I brought it up last meeting and maybe another. I know I brought it up before several times, but Sam, I just want to know if you can just set up a meeting for me with the prosecutor, the code enforcement officer, the chief, and yourself, and whoever from council would like to see if we can get the zoning enforcement back on track with those houses that are operating in the neighborhoods,
Okay.
the drug rehab houses.
Oh, the ones that are owned by the state, okay.
They're not owned by the state. They're owned by a private company that are operating.
Operating through the state or whatever.
Right, right. Licensed through the state. Right. So if you could just set that meeting up so I can, because I know everybody's new now, so they probably don't have a good history and they probably don't even know what was going on. I just want to bring everybody up to speed and try and get that back on track.
I'm happy to be there if you need as well, because I have the background
Sure.
as well.
I think, like I said, we do have some new staffing in that particular office.
Right.
But right now, it seems like they're well on their way to being acclimated.
Excellent.
So yeah, it's probably the proper time for doing that.
Great. The only other thing, I had mentioned to you briefly, I think before the meeting started last week or 2 weeks ago, I've had another resident call me saying that I guess when they call Planet Networks, asking why they haven't moved further up through town. They're saying they're being held up by the zoning office or zoning board. They weren't able to give details, but if you could find out if there's something going on that we're holding up that rollout because people are
I'll
eagerly
check-
awaiting
I'll
it.
check over there. To my knowledge, I don't think we've held up anything, but
And it might not be us, it might be the zoning board. I don't know. And it could be a disconnect from what their offices are telling the public when the public calls, but I just want clarification so I can pass that along. That's all I have. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Councilwoman Quinn?
So I have two things. First and foremost, at the last meeting, I brought up the Exxon property. Again, it is in complete state of shambles. It's got graffiti all over it. Then somebody painted where the graffiti was on the building. Now it's on the dumpster on the side. The weeds are 4 feet tall. It's a mess. So I was just
We
wondering.
addressed that with the property manager again. The first amount of graffiti was removed. The graffiti on the trailer is removed. We referred to the zoning department for the trailer.
Okay.
But the property manager is aware it's all zoning violations as far as any kind of grass or weeds or anything like that. But
So what's the plan? I mean, do they have a plan? Do we know if they have a plan? They need to clean that up. That's not right.
that you have to refer to the zoning department on that. But as far as the graffiti, that's been removed on our account.
Okay.
We can bring that up to the zoning official.
Yeah, okay. I'll take care of it. Thank you for looking into it. I appreciate that. It's, just where it is and everything like that. It's just, there's no reason for it to look that way. And the other thing was, I understand that I had brought up about the crosswalk. And so I had a conversation and I understand the cost and the fact that it's not our road and this and that. But maybe what we could do is just paint where those lines are. Maybe instead of putting in, remember I had brought up over
Which one you're talking about?
over by Burger King over there, the
81.
Sparta Ave. It goes from Sparta Avenue across to the neighborhoods that are behind Ungerman Field.
Okay,
So it's like the Wells Fargo Bank across the street.
That's not our road?
that's state.
That's a state
Sparta
road.
Ave.
It's a state road, yeah.
Okay.
So the issue is, I had asked if we could do something. I think it's not going to be, first and foremost, I don't think they're going to invest the money in the stuff that we have. But at the very least, I think we need to do something. So if you could just follow up, I think one of the options that was brought up during our conversation, because one of the officers did follow up with me, which was fantastic, was maybe we could put something in the road, or something on the sides or something, just to draw attention
Looks like
because
we have
it's
the sides.
old,
Push button like we have out front at the municipal building here.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that's what we originally asked for. But I think there's some issues but I don't want to let issues.
Well, the sidewalks are ours. If we put those up, how could that affect the state road? If we put those, like you're talking about, the ones like we have in front
The
of
one
town
that we
hall.
have like in front of
Yeah.
the town hall and Presbyterian Church.
I don't see why we couldn't do that.
It's on the township property.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just saying, my understanding was that might be problematic. I think they're cost prohibitive. I mean, I don't know, but I think we need to do something. There's too many people crossing all day, and that's getting busier and busier leading up to that. Both of the intersections on either side of Sparta Avenue. So
Are
maybe if
talking
you
about
could just.
The Burger King, or are you talking at the large intersection with 517 and 181?
No, I'm talking about, the intersection that I'm talking about connects Sparta Avenue from right around where Burger King is to the homes, to that neighborhood of homes that are right by Sparta Dairy. And there's so much traffic going up and down there. In the morning, we have seniors that are trying to walk. We have people that are trying to walk. We have parents that are trying to walk small children, people that want to go to some of the restaurants, park the car and go for a coffee or something like that, because there's that parking lot across the street.
So, Chris, can I just make a suggestion? One of the groups that's tasked with working on stuff like this for the state is TransOption.
Okay.
So I'm actually on their board, and they have programs where you can bring them in. They do a study of your town and help create a more walkable area. And they're funded by the state, and they can actually push stuff like this. So
That'd be great.
I'll pass on some information, and I think they might be the right group to contact.
I'd really appreciate that. And that's what I'm saying, like, if we couldn't do the other, I want to do something.
I'll
So
look into
even if we just paint
signs,
it,
because that's one of the best, quickest options is to put up those signs. And actually, I think when you see those flashing, it makes people very aware rather than just the painted channelization in the roadway.
yeah. So that's it for me. And I appreciate everything, Chief. Thank you. You're always very good about getting right back on, following up on everything immediately. So thank you.
Well,
And Chris, while we're talking about this, one of the things that they do is not only walkable stuff, but biking.
Oh,
So while we're
okay.
talking about the biking trails, and
Perfect.
that's been a discussion about the biking trails through town to connect some of the areas, that might be something that they could plot out and plan out for us and help us design.
That'd be great. Okay.
Council, I just was advised by Lieutenant, because we did contact the building management at the Exxon about the graffiti, and we did also let them know about the property itself, and the weeds were cleaned up today, so.
Oh,
It's
they
just a
got, it
matter
got
of.
cleaned up today?
Yes, so
Awesome.
it's just a matter of the zoning department following up with the trailer.
I literally was going by there at 11:30 last night after getting coffee, and that's what reminded me to bring it up today. So you're saying they cleaned it up today, so that's perfect. Good.
And I'd just like to, on another note, I'd like to start, put a shout out to our DPW as far as the wall on 517 by Main Street. It was an issue going back and forth with the county. And it was basically left in our hands, and they got it done right away. We knew that the high school graduation was coming up, and Jim Zepp got his crew out there and cleaned it up to make sure it's proper for that. So thanks to them.
Excellent, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, for myself, I have a number of things might lead some conversations. First and foremost, the Independence Day Parade was great, so thanks for the Elks for putting that on. We had a number of applications, a couple of applications for the Revolution NJ 250 committee. So two of them I'd like to bring up for consideration. One is Ben Thies, and I believe Ben is a archaeologist that lives in Sparta. And second one is Elise Cisco, who I believe is the middle school or grade school history teacher. I think, and then the third person would be Peter Litchfield from the VFW, would be our VFW representative. So I'd like to make a motion to add those three individuals, Peter Litchfield, Ben Thies, and Elise Cisco, to the Revolution NJ 250 committee.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion or comment? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstain?
Dan, were you able to get someone from the Historical Society on there?
I did ask, did you, I think, Dean, or Councilman Blumetti, you said you brought that up?
Yeah,
to
there's communications with them. I mean, they're all over this too, so they're involved.
I'm just saying.
I haven't had a name yet.
Duplication of effort and duplication of spending.
Right,
So
right.
if all those forces could come together and work together in unison, rather than both trying to do things, I think it would be better use of the
No,
funds.
we have, they will have two representatives on the committee.
Yeah.
But you just
Perfect
don't
for
know who
that.
they are, so we don't need.
We haven't got a name yet. No.
Okay.
At some point we will, but we don't have a name yet.
When are those meetings starting?
We don't, well, first we have to staff the committee, so we just put three people on, and we had the two council representatives to the Historical Society is Councilman Blumetti and Deputy Mayor Clark, and so now we're up to five. We will add, I guess we'll add two more to the, when the Historical Society members are identified, and then we'll have seven, and I think then it's probably a go.
Isn't the state already having meetings with municipalities?
That's not my understanding. My understanding is the state had asked each municipality to form a committee and maybe liaise with the state. But I believe the next step would be for the committee to be formed, then to have their first meeting, and then the committee would reach out to the state to see how do we want to work together, what do you need from us, what are the deliverables, what's the timeline, and let the committee get going on that. About 2 weeks ago, I had a mayor's lunch with Sussex County mayors and deputy mayors and members of the county commissioners and their staff. I will share notes. The notes are still being drafted, and when I get them, I will send them out. But just very quickly, we did discuss that there is still about $800,000 in small business grants from ARPA. Small business is going to get up to $15,000, and the commission or the county commissioners want to have those funds distributed by the end of the summer is what they're targeting, and they're in the enviable position of wanting to give away money and needing people to apply. So once I get the application links, when that comes in, I'll share that with the manager and the council. We also discussed mutual aid agreements at the county level, what may or may not make sense, and I know Councilwoman Quinn is also part of the League of Sussex County League of Municipalities, also working on that, so we had some discussions in that respect. I'm sorry?
Yep.
And then and among those were also shared DPW services, which looked interesting. Not every town could afford to keep around a sweeper. And so they talked about, as an example of maybe have some common countywide sweepers that we could borrow from, and that's just one example of many that could be at the DPW level. All right, that's it. I'd like to put on the agenda for the next meeting a resolution to fly the September 11th flag on September 11th. So I'd like to make that motion to, again, this will be put on the agenda as a resolution for the next council meeting, which we'll discuss when that will be in a minute. So may I have a second for that?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion or comments on the September 11th flag being on the agenda for the next meeting? Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any
No.
opposed or abstain?
Opposed.
Any abstention from? So we have one opposed? Yep, opposed or abstain? Okay. Councilwoman Quinn abstains, I think, right? Okay, so the Cricket Club has their end of the year awards ceremony celebration on Sunday, the 16th. I plan on being there, as will the recreation head, Gene. Just a reminder, I mentioned at the last meeting, there's a July 18th special meeting with the Highlands Council. No business will be conducted at that meeting, but that will be joint with the Council, Planning Board, Environmental Commission, and I believe also the Zoning Board, so we'll have a full house. At the last meeting, we brought up that an open space plan. One of the residents brought that up, and actually, let's skip that. I was going to wonder what the next step would that be, but I don't know. I want to skip that discussion, so I'm going to strike that from the record. We had typically, so a couple things for council discussion. We typically do not meet on the second week I guess the fourth week in July. So we had sort of loosely planned on not having a meeting that week. I just want to make sure that if that's still the case, or do we have is there a desire to meet on that day or a desire not to meet on that day? I'll open it up to anybody who wants to comment on that. Typically, we don't.
I would prefer we did, even if it's a short or quick agenda.
Okay. Councilman Hertzberg, I believe you're going to be away that week.
Gonna be away.
Okay. Do you have any concerns about, because you were planning on being away, so you might have planned around that date.
The only thing, my concerns are some of these things I would like to address at the meeting that I'm not going to be here for. So, like the food truck ordinance, I'd like to be here for that hearing.
I would definitely table that for that day. Is there, so door number one is we do not meet on July 25th. Door number two is we do meet and we have an abridged agenda. Door number three is we meet and we have a full agenda. Anybody else have any comments on that?
What is the, do we have business that needs to happen? I mean, this has been how we conduct, during the summertime so that people can be off without missing these things. So it's sort of like you can plan around it. So I guess my question is there any business, Sam, Tom,
We have
is there any
basically
business that needs to happen?
sort of funneled most of the resolutions so that anything that needed to be on for July is already on here.
Okay.
Looking at that, okay, we don't need to have a meeting, the second meeting of July. Same thing, we've geared everything for August so that we can do the same thing for August.
Okay. So there's no, and we always reserve the right, and this has always been the way it is, that in the case of an emergency, obviously, we can always pull together and have an emergency meeting. So we always reserve that right regardless of anything. But if you're saying that all the resolutions are in place, obviously the bills list and all of that is good, then I guess my question would be, what would be the reason for us to have a meeting, just to pull everybody in here to do what?
The ordinance for land use, PCED zone.
But we're not going to have that discussion because Josh is on vacation.
No, that was introduced already.
Yes, I
last
understand,
meeting.
But he already said that, so what happened was, apparently.
I think Josh said he was concerned about the food truck one.
Yeah, well, I mean, I assume.
But he also has comments for that one as well. That is a major.
I did not think that was going to be an issue because I thought it was going to be on the agenda tonight, but
Right.
obviously it wasn't.
Yeah, and we had to, that had to go back to the planning
Well,
board
yeah.
for certification, and the planning board did not meet in their first meeting, and so.
Yeah, the July
because of that,
4th,
we
the
had to-
planning board
we
didn't have
couldn't
a
put it on the
meeting,
agenda
so
for tonight.
Well, I mean,
The
if you-
consistency review has to happen at the next planning board meeting, which is going to be prior to 2 weeks from now. So once
Right, but
it
you-
passes that,
I don't know that it's fair to have, I mean, and I am all for moving forward and hearing, but not at the expense of something that important. And knowing that we're gonna schedule it on a night that one of our colleagues is away. We can have an emergency meeting if you want the following week when he's back. But I don't think that it's fair to do that when you know someone's not gonna be here with something that
well,
important.
let me ask Josh. So Josh, I know you voted for it, and it was 4-1. We were all in favor of the introduction of it. Do you foresee major concerns or issues that would?
I have concerns. I have things that I wanted to talk about in the hearing, yes.
And we don't know how people will vote ultimately at the next meeting.
True.
Yeah, I voted to have it.
To advance
introduced
it,
so we could have a
exactly.
Hearing.
Yeah, I think that in light of Councilman Hertzberg's experience in this area, I would want him to be there to have his input so that we have a full and robust discussion of the ordinance. And so I would recommend putting it off until he can participate.
And I would, my vote or my recommendation would be that we do not meet on the 25th and again, move that discussion to the meeting of August 8th, I think it is.
Or if, I mean, listen, yeah, I think that's good. I mean, what are you looking for, a second? Not a second, you're not making a motion.
No, we're not
I would
making a motion.
support that. I
Okay.
would support us not having a meeting and then seeing that on August 8th.
Yeah. Or another option is to have a meeting in between, right? That was mentioned also. That we all can be here, but not wait 2 more weeks.
It's August 8th, I think. It's only 2 weeks between,
It's 2 weeks.
yeah.
And we're already meeting next week, and so this would then us have meeting again for a special meeting, so
Yeah,
I would just keep
The
the.
issue
I
was
think-
that the planning board meeting where this would have, normally.
Normally this would have
it would've
done,
gone
yeah.
back, But that meeting was canceled.
yeah.
It was canceled at the
why
beginning
it
of the year,
didn't
but it was July 5th. Yeah, it wasn't
That's
last,
what I'm
yeah,
saying.
it was not on the calendar.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it just fell.
Yeah. So I think the consensus is that we will forego the meeting on the 25th. And if something arises between now and then at a time when we're all available, I think we can call an emergency meeting. I think we have that card to play if we have to. Okay. I'm going to have, and thank you for that. I'm going to have another discussion, only this time about the second meeting in August. On one thing we can say is let's just talk about that in the first meeting in August. Is it, or do we want to plan in advance? Anybody have any? I'll open it up. Anybody
No,
have
I
any
think we should
questions
wait.
about?
Yeah, if we have pressing business, it's a month and a half away. I'm not sure why we would cancel it now until we know what's on the agenda, what's happening.
That sounds fair. So let's not have that discussion now, and we'll have that discussion instead on the August 8th meeting to see if that's something we want to talk about. The last thing I have on the agenda is next steps for manager interviews. So again, I want to advise council members not to name anybody individually, but only talking to generalities at this point. We had one person we had scheduled to interview today, but that person had since rescinded his or her request to be considered, and so we have one more person to pull for an interview. Again, our goal was to interview the top 3 candidates that we got from our pool that we'd received. And so I think since we ranked candidates 1 through 6, I think we'll just pull number 4 from the list, and we'll do our best to schedule meetings. So the question is, do we schedule those meetings, I guess, for as many as we can on August 8th? Can we have meetings in between? When are people available? Do we have a special session between now and August 8th?
I guess, I think what we've learned is that we can't really dictate what their schedule is, so maybe we let Roxanne try and, I think your first idea is trying to schedule it all. The one day is great, but if that doesn't work out, then we might need to plan another day to do that.
I agree, and it's going to be, we'd have to get really lucky for everybody to say, yeah, I can make it on August 8th or whatever it is, on whatever time that's, and again, it's summer
I would
vacation
suggest we
season.
split them up anyway, because if we're going to do 3 in one night or day.
It's going to be a long day.
It only leaves a half an hour, which is, that is kind of short for 5 people or 6 people to interview a person in a half an hour. If we wanted to increase that to 45 minutes per candidate, it's almost impossible to do all 3 in the same day.
Or we block a couple hours, or we say, okay, we're gonna meet at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so everyone can, we all work. So it's a matter of having the date and being able, once Roxanne figures out, and then us committing to say, okay, we're gonna spend an afternoon doing this.
How is it feasible for everybody to take the better part of a working day off?
I
I
don't
know
think
people
that's
work.
necessary. I think we can work this out in the evenings.
So I think to be that in the evenings, I think we would have to split this up into 2 evenings, because if we're having a public session at 7 o'clock, if we're starting at, let's, on argument's sake, 5, even 4, if it starts at 4, that's 3 hours to get 3 interviews done.
I think that's too much.
Sounds aggressive, yeah. So door number 1 is to split them up into 2 different evenings. Door number 2 is to have a marathon day.
Well, I think, if we're going to learn from our prior experience, which is we have to give these applicants more than one date. And so in light of that we have to give them more than one date, then I think we're going to, by virtue of that, they're going to pick different dates. And so that's probably going to dictate that we're going to need more than one day to do all this. So I would be an advocate of splitting this up, both for our convenience and for the convenience of the applicants as well.
So I'm just going to throw out, so the Tuesday before August 8th is August 1st. My math is correct. And I don't know if everybody knows their calendars. I'm sorry. Are you still away?
No, back.
So if we're already back, then we could logistically have a council meeting that night and hear that ordinance.
Oh,
That's true.
that's a good idea. So, okay, the working model then is to have a special session on August 1st, and maybe we have an abridged session, an executive session for any 1 or 2 applicants that might want to interview, and an abridged version item on the agenda, just having the discussion of one of the ordinances.
Keep it more or less each applicant probably a half-hour session would be enough. You don't want to, too much is too much. And probably, like say, you just be able to learn most of what you want to know from the applicant probably within the first 10 minutes.
Right, so a half an hour is 5 minutes of hanging out, and you sit down, hey, how's it going? How's the weather? Blah, 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 and you're going to
So
burn
half
5,
hour,
10 minutes
is
just
a-
being
Is
pleasant.
a better frame of window, give
Yeah.
each person a half hour.
I
I'd like to
think
see a
that's
little bit
aggressive.
more, to be
Yeah.
honest, if you're gonna bring them all the way here.
I would
we-
want to spend more
We
than half
all
an
know
hour.
that we have different questions. I think just to get a visual of the person to say, hey, you could do that on a Zoom call. If we want to bring the person here and we're serious about it, then we should go through the due diligence of spending the time for each of us to ask questions. There's 5 of us sitting here, so if each one of us asked one question and gave the recipient 5 minutes, that's 25 minutes right
Yeah,
there.
that's not going to happen.
So I have to be honest with you, I would rather see us schedule an hour and be done in 45 minutes. And I think if we're done, maybe we're done in 25 minutes. It depends. I can't answer the question, but I wouldn't want to say 30 minutes and then have someone else sitting outside, and then we're going to be 45 minutes late for them. Or now we're interested, and now somebody's got to come all the way back.
I agree totally. I think this is a serious long-term position here. I think, we've all done interviewing. I think half an hour to determine, unless we know we're going to bring them back for a second round, which I don't think we're assuming that, half an hour is awfully quick.
So let's just block the interviews.
Block August 1st
1
and
hour.
August 8th.
1 hour each.
So
Do we
we'll put-
agree on that? Just, that'll be the block. That doesn't mean we have to use the whole hour, but that will be the block.
Completely agree.
Okay.
From my part, anyway. So I think our working model is now August 1st for an executive session, plus maybe we'll think about having an abridged agenda with one of the ordinance, maybe the PCD or maybe the food truck. We'll pick one, just to keep it as tight as possible. And August 8th will also be an executive session with 1 or 2 interviews and the full agenda.
Can I just say one thing on
Sure.
that? If we're splitting up the ordinances, then we're also expecting the public who wants to weigh in on them to
Yep.
have to come to 2 meetings.
Yep,
So just something to think about.
that's a good point.
Just to be clear, back to the candidates, we're moving down and inviting the next one in the list? Is that, that's the plan, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
We went through the exercise of ranking them, and so we have that as an asset. Let's use it.
And as part of this interview, not only the candidate, is Mr. Levinson going to be available? So because the public may want to know
We'll have to
what
ask.
his methodology and how he came about coming up with the candidates that he came up with. So
Yeah,
we
but-
got to allocate time for him to answer questions, I think, too.
Yep.
Of us, yeah.
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 So our plan was to have Mr. Levinson on hand for all the interviews and then have some time for us to recap to get his thoughts on what he had just heard and ask him questions about the process as well.
So what time August 1st, 5?
I don't, well, it depends if only one person can do it or 2 people can do it.
So we'll just mark their calendars for that night and wait for you to give us.
Get my work calendar, get everybody's work calendar set up. I'm guessing earliest would be 4, but that's aggressive. Let's say 4:30 would be earliest. Does that sound okay? Does that work? Yeah.
Yep.
But we'll play it by ear. And then, so I guess, Roxanne, you'll have to reach out to the candidates and give those 2 dates, and we'll divide up accordingly.
Someone in the back had a question.
Yeah, we'll go back into, open it up to the public in a minute. I just wanted to have that discussion out front, because we have to get that housekeeping done. And actually, that is the end of my questions, so now I can open it to the public right now. If anybody have any questions about anything you've just heard, or how hot it's been, or...
Jenny Derrick's Tap into Sparta. Could we, prior to the next meeting or the next time that you're going to discuss the food truck ordinance, can we get a red line of that, see what the changes have been?
I think so. Is that okay? Turn to the clerk or to the town manager, is
Well,
that?
it's not going to have our changes. It won't have the changes we're going to propose. And unless we get it out like.
No, we won't have
3
those
days
changes,
before.
no.
It won't have both.
No,
It'll
but
it'll just be a red line between what was introduced at the last meeting and what's currently on the books.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think we have that
We
to
do
give
that.
out.
So let me just clarify. You mean
She's asking.
the ordinance that was just introduced tonight?
No, at the last meeting. Oh, no,
No.
food truck is tonight, I'm sorry.
What the existing ordinance looks like now
Yeah.
and what the changes are that are going to be in the hearing.
Truck ordinance.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think there's something to compare it to.
So that whole thing is new.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Well,
That's helpful.
I think we were replacing a section,
Yes.
no? Oh, no, we were redlining something that we worked on a couple of years ago.
There was a working document.
That's what it
Never
was.
introduced.
Yeah. That's what it was. All right, so I'm sorry. So there's nothing to redline against, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
thank you.
I'm sorry for
Um,
being unclear on that.
That's all right. Has Mr. Spalding been replaced?
Yes.
Did I miss it? I'm sorry. Do we know? Was he approved on the?
Was replaced with one of our persons within the water department that we promoted up.
Do we know who that is?
Corey Long.
Ori?
Corey.
Corey, thank you. And this is about, above-ground tanks over in the ED zone, are they allowed? There's
What's in the tank?
is that what the distinction is?
I'm just guessing.
No, I'm not.
No, I'm speculating. I think.
Okay.
Which zone? PCED? Or
Um,
ED?
You said ED.
ED?
Anywhere over there, over Germany Flats.
There is no, all of the ordinances are very clear that there is to be no harmful substances stored in any tank.
Okay, so if there's
anywhere.
a tank there, the zoning person can go check and see what that tank is.
Of course.
So there's one over on
Because the
Park.
ordinances are very clear. They're not done by it's the overall ordinances, and they could point you to what they are.
Okay.
But it's very specific that there is nothing allowed over there.
Okay, there's one over on Park Lake Road that I just saw the other day. That's why I'm bringing it up. And then one last thing. So we now have 2 that I know of, I don't know if there's more, 2 people who work for the township that are from Pello. the engineering company Pellos, right? Harold Pello,
Yes.
yes.
Dave
right?
Simmons and Corey Stoner.
Right, thank you. So is there a line that they're not allowed, are they going to be allowed to, is Pello going, Harold Pello going to be allowed to bid on projects for the township?
I think he addressed that.
no,
Yeah, he addressed that and said no, they wouldn't work.
I didn't hear it being addressed in public, that's why I'm asking. So
right, 'cause it
no,
didn't
they will
happen.
not be. You're right?
So, yeah, I think and you have to correct me if I'm wrong, that the engineer made it pretty clear that their business model is for municipalities, and they do not, what's the right thing to say?
He said he wouldn't work on anything that was a conflict with the township while he was employed here.
So if he's working on, because that's been a problem in the past, right? So if he's working on a project overseeing the bid process or whatever it is, the need,
But won't be
the
anyone
specking
doing
it,
business in that.
No.
got it.
But I
Thank
think it
you.
was like, the large percentage, predominant is from municipalities, not from the private sector. So he wouldn't be bidding against his own client, or in that respect.
Yeah, not just him. I think it was the firm. I think that
firm.
was my
It's the firm,
concern.
yes.
Was that,
Saying
yeah,
the
that,
firm.
yeah, the firm,
Yeah.
because
Will
that
not be
would be,
bidding on Sparta
yeah,
Township
because that gets
projects.
imputed to him. I mean, if you do it the way attorneys do it, that it would be that the firm would be the one.
Right, that's
So
what
if
I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
And our understanding, based on the questions that council had of him, was that the majority of their business is through municipalities. So they're not, have a whole separate business unit that works on developers. So therefore, maybe another person in his firm works for a developer that then has an application coming into Sparta, therefore presenting a conflict. We vetted that, and
And
my
they were very clear
understanding
on
was that that would not occur. And if it does, then he's going to have to notify us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Mike Devine, Oak Parkway. I'll try to be quick. I know when I was on council a long time ago, and ever since, I don't know if we ever had the chief present at a meeting. I think it's a great idea. It's tremendous value added, so whose ever idea it was, I hope you keep doing it.
We like hanging out with the chief.
Yeah.
But,
We like hanging out with the chief.
yeah, I think it's really a nice presence. It's nice to have him here, and there's a lot of value added, so great idea. Dean, you mentioned something about a meeting on open space. I didn't quite catch. Is it, the public's invited?
Absolutely, yeah, it's the Environmental Commission meeting on August 10th, that Thursday, the second Thursday of August. It's going to be here, Environmental Commission meeting, it's going to be a speaker on that.
Okay, and then quickly, some observations, things that caught my attention today. 3 things real quickly. The idea of the dog walking came up, and that's real important to a lot of people. And it turns out Chris knew a lot about it, and there was apparently a lot of thought put into it. And it looks like that could be resurrected and moved to a dog park. Josh came up with one about the sewers, the unfair treatment there, and there may be a way to resurrect that and put it on a 5-year plan to balance it. You also kind of mentioned about a group you're on, maybe through the state or the county,
Trans options.
yeah, that might be able to help make town more walkable.
Yep.
That's what
And
they do.
bike trails.
My point is, 3 things like that are really of interest and value, I think. And I don't know the right way to say this, but if I went online of the council or Sparta, I like to see a page said, here's some initiatives that we're involved with that aren't day-to-day, eaches and everything. I don't know if it's major goals or whatever, but it's like those things would really be nice for people to be aware of that, just for what it's worth, just a thought. Lastly, and this is a little bit maybe an obnoxious, last meeting I asked about seeing the job description for the town manager, and I never got it, probably because I didn't follow up, so it's probably my fault. I guess my question is, and I was involved in hiring at least one manager way back, I would think that hopefully your selection is going to include criteria for experience as manager, should be obvious, I guess. Ideally, experience as a Faulkner Act manager, the right education, the right training, and the right certification. I think the league has training and certification that pretty much standard for town managers. I could be mistaken about that.
The application was put out there. The application was actually posted on the New Jersey League of Municipalities website.
Oh, great.
So
Okay.
it was there. It was very extensive. It was probably the longest. I mean, I serve on the board over there, so we see the applications that come in. It was probably the longest resume. One of the longest ones I've seen that are posted on the website. So it was very extensive. It addressed all the points. If you can contact Roxanne tomorrow, they can get a copy, like an actual copy, because it's not there. I don't believe it's there anymore.
Okay.
Only the
So
month
you
of
can
May.
get a copy of it from her. You know, what was posted, you can get a copy from her.
All right, that's it. Thank you very much.
Good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Anyone else from the public have anything to talk about? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second.
Excellent. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any abstain or opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Do you know that?